Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful episode. No surprise there. Just pumping out heat every fucking week. I'm out here doing this shit. I take pride in this. My brother got married this weekend. That was a very, very interesting experience. I was never in a wedding, so that aspect of it all was very different to me because, I got married in October, and whenever you're getting married, I guess your people are supposed to do everything for you. But I don't know. Whenever I was getting married, I'm a control freak kind of, I guess. And I overthink things, so I kind of, take control of whatever I'm involved in because I just don't like not knowing what's going on. But luckily for my brother, he had someone like that as his best man because I'll tell you one thing, I did a lot of the shit for him. Kid just was living the dream, just like that whole bridezilla mentality, do this, throw me a random text, don't forget margarita mix, kiss my ass. No, but it was an incredible wedding. It was in Blackwater Falls, West Virginia. He had it on the side of this fucking cliff under this tent that looked like something from Big Fish. But it was an awesome wedding, outdoors. It was nice. It wasn't too hot. The rain held off until directly after the ceremony. So it ended up being super cool. It was a fun time hanging out with all of our friends, cool time hanging out with my brother's friends that I don't really get to see all the time. But, yeah, good time. Always a good time at a wedding. And, man, my brother got a new dog. So my brother got this dog that's like an 80-pound pit bull. His name is Mason. Okay, so I think that's hilarious in itself because it's a dog with just like a regular first name. It's like a dog. It's like naming a dog like Peter or something like that. You know what I mean? It's real funny. But it's like naming a dog Kevin. Come here, Kevin. It's just very, very weird to hear like a kid's name at this in coming from this huge 80-pound black pit bull that my brother rescued. So this thing is a fucking unit. He is huge. I'm telling you, if you look at it, if you think of something right now to try to picture it, imagine Ving Rhames as a pit bull because that's Mason. But what's different about him is that you look at him and you're like, fuck, this dog will rip my leg off easily. But man, he is just the cutest and most cuddly dog I've ever been around. He's just a lump of just goo. He just lays down and just wants you to touch him. And it's crazy to me that the people that are just freaked out about pit bulls and shit like that. And I don't know, dude. It's just that's proof right there. I've had so many positive experiences with people rescuing dogs. My buddy Dan had a dog in his life at one point named Maverick, who was this dog was a bait dog. They filed his fucking teeth down and they just would toss a dog in. They would toss him in there and, the bigger dogs would come in there and just beat his ass and try to, they use those dogs to gear them up for a real fight. And that shit is insane to me. I'm afraid that I would kill someone if I would ever see something like that going on. I'm genuinely afraid for that. But this dog was treated like garbage. And, it was so fucking loving. It's just so forgiving. It never held a grudge. And I don't know, dude. It's just the people like that are just they completely write off breeds of dogs because of some of the shit that they hear is insane to me. But that's neither here nor there. It's a whole nother podcast. I'm trying to get Allie from Big E's Bullies on here. So if any people listening know who that is, Allie Stees, hit her up and tell her you want to hear her talk about what she does because she does incredible things for so many animals with Big E's Bullies. But anyway, what's the first thing you think of whenever you start in the morning? Before anything else. Mine used to be a cigarette, but it's not anymore. It's a cup of coffee. And it never was a cup of coffee. I was never a big coffee snob, but, now I am. I really enjoy a nice cup of coffee, a nice black cup of coffee. And, it's something that I take pride in, which I guess is a segue to my next point. A few weeks ago, I talked to a girl named Ashley Quartz, who is one half of Black Forge Coffee House. And this week, my guest is Nick Miller, who is the second half of Black Forge Coffee House. So me and Ashley talked about, the Kickstarter that they started to help fund the funds for their second location. And, they're doing such cool things with Black Forge that I knew that people were going to come through and pledge enough to be able to fund whatever they needed to be able to open this new location. And my goal was to be able to talk to Nick, the second half of Black Forge, after all this funding got completed, so he could kind of give me a rundown of what they have planned for all the new shit that's going to go on. And it was an awesome conversation. I didn't really know Nick at all. I've met him a few times over the last 4 years through mutual friends, but always a cool dude, saying hello, never just a weirdo or something like that. I don't even know how to describe him. He was just a cool dude. I don't know why I'm trying to be weird and trying to describe him a certain way. But yeah, super cool dude. And I asked him to come on, and he came on, and we talked about everything. I didn't know anything about him, and I feel that coming into a conversation with someone that you don't know anything about, really, that's the result of, that's what you need to have the result of something incredible, as far as a conversation. That's a genuine conversation. I don't really have a template for anything whenever I talk to people, because if I have a template, it sounds too rehearsed. So I kind of just let it go and see how it goes. And this conversation was just incredible. I really enjoyed talking to him. We talked everything about music, tattoos, movies, conspiracy theories. Dude's just super interesting, and he had a really interesting upbringing. And it's, I would assume that you would have to be able to open a dark metal coffee shop and make it thrive. You know what I mean? It's not your sterile type of Starbucks. A black metal themed coffee shop is I would say that's edgy enough to be, you're curious. And I feel that's not just an instant sell. You know what I mean? Having satanic artwork and shit like that all over their fucking walls, but they're both just such fucking nice people. It makes up for it. But yeah, without further ado, episode 33 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I guess you can call it part 2 of the Black Forge Coffee House series, but this is my conversation with Nick Miller, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. So thanks for coming back, and thanks for listening.
Telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I don't even know really what he's doing up there. What's going on there tonight?
It's Tuna Tuesday, so Fat Man D runs a backing band, and they just do an open mic with a band.
Is it like what kind of music?
Whatever people want to play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they've done stand-up, acoustic stuff, keyboard stuff, weird sideshow things sometimes. But she performs for a good 20 minutes or so up front, and then they broadcast the whole thing on YouTube.
I've never heard of her.
Fat Man D?
Yeah.
She's a Southside legend. She's actually quite. Her story is pretty crazy. I don't know super well, but she has performed at the White House a bunch of times. She's this crazy jazz singer that has this amazing range.
Really?
Yeah. She's really, really talented. She's just a big goofball. She's super fun to hang out with. Really nice.
I've never really listened. I never really delved into the whole jazz real heavy. So I would never really know.
Yeah, I met her. She's randomly a friend of my old boss when I worked at Hot Rod Piercing Company. So she would come in every once in a while just to say hi. And then one day he was just like, "Oh yeah, that's who she is," and like kind of told me about her. And I was like, "Whoa,
That's pretty wild. Small world. You never know. Hot Rod Piercing Company. You were a piercer. Was that what you
well,
were?
I primarily worked counter.
Okay.
I was a piercer before I worked at Hot Rod, but Hot Rod is the place that I worked at beforehand was in Sharon, PA.
Okay.
And it was like just like this biker street shop kind of place.
Yeah.
And then Hot Rod is, like 100 times bigger and better. And,
Yeah, they're pretty prestigious. As far as like in South Side and everything, there's a couple places you hear, and you always hear Hot Rod for piercings.
Well, so their owner Tim has he's been in the game for going on like 30 years now.
Really?
It was over 20 when I started working there, and that was like 8-9 years ago. And he helped establish some of the different methods that's like used pretty prominently in the body piercing world. And he was at the table when they were discussing forming the Association of Professional Piercing and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, like he's like kind of like this. A lot of people in the Pittsburgh area doesn't realize that the owner of Hot Rod was
like a big deal.
Yeah, in the piercing and the modification world. Yeah, for sure.
Huh? What's his name again?
Tim.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And like, how did you get into that?
So like I've always been, this metal dude. And so like when I was in high school, me and my close group of friends, we were really into like modifications and tattoos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, for anyone that's listening, like covered in tattoos, piercings, everything.
Yeah, I've had most of these piercings I've had since I was like 18.
Yeah, it's an interesting world, the whole like body modification and tattooing, because like you see it whenever you're younger. Everyone tries to like say, you're gonna get tattoos, you're never gonna be able to get a job or anything like that. And I feel like the world just like tries to scare you away from all that stuff. But I mean, it's interesting to see how many people are just like let's do it. I mean, like I have tattoos as well, and I enjoy it.
I haven't talked about that in a long time. Yeah, it's what's strange is that shift happened. Let's see, it's 2018, probably 2010, 2011 with Ink Masters. When Ink Masters hit the TV and that became like this big, huge show, all of a sudden you started seeing people in commercials with tattoos.
Yep.
And then it was okay to hire people with tattoos.
Yeah.
But I remember having to go to the mall and buy like those clear retainers that I had to wear in my lips or my nose in order to keep my job or to go in for job interviews. It was
crazy.
A nightmare trying to catch a job and keep your modifications.
I had my tongue pierced for a minute, and I didn't tell my mom. I got it done whenever I went to school at Slippery Rock, and I come home for Thanksgiving, and we were shopping for Black Friday, and I was eating across from her at Century 3 Mall at the food court. She was like, "What's on your tongue? What is that?" And like I was like, "Oh," because my mom was like, "No tattoos, you're out of my house." My dad was into it. Like he's grew up around it. He doesn't have any tattoos or anything, but like my mother gassed it up way more than it was like forbidden to get. So like I've always loved them. My dad built one of Big Tony's tattoo shops in McKeesport. Like he helped build that thing, and ever since being around there while he was building it, it's like I've become fascinated by it, because like I just remember seeing like these shutters, and they would open and close, and there was like this crazy like dragon that was drawn on there, and like I just loved the world of like the whole like all the art on the walls. I just remember being like, man, I can't wait till I can get tattoos. And then she was a fucking nutcase about it, and I turned 18, and I was like, I have to get a tattoo. And I ended up getting my lip tattooed so I could hide it.
Yeah.
So I told my dad, and he was like super cool about it. He was like, "Oh, that's what's up. That's cool. Don't show your fucking mom. She'll lose her mind." So my mother comes home from vacation. 2 days later, I walk outside to help her carry her bags in. First thing my fucking dad says is, "Hey Vic, ask your son what he did this weekend." And I'm like, "You motherfucker!" Threw me under the bus.
Threw you under the bus.
But then she likes it. Like my grad party, she had a big picture of it blown up because like my nickname forever was Strawberry, and that's like what I had tattooed. It was like a fucking novelty for her, telling me to show people and everything. Like, you hated it for so long.
Did it last?
Yeah, it's still.
Oh wow! Yeah,
this
those
was
tattoos fall
July
out all the
1st,
time.
2008. Because my 18th birthday was June 30th, and this was the day after. But my buddies had them for, theirs lasted for like a week, 2 weeks, because it all matters, like what if you chew, if you drink a lot, toxicity to your body.
The tattoo artists knew what they were doing.
Yeah. And it was hard for me to actually find people in Southside to do a lip tattoo because, I went to, I think, 3 different places, and no one wanted to do it, and I had to go to Flying Monkey to get it done. But I don't know. It's been there forever.
Most reputable tattoo artists are going to be honest about whether or not if it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
usually
yeah.
if you're like, I will pay you money to do this tattoo, if they're like, I'm just taking your money for nothing,
Yeah.
they won't. A lot of times they'll just turn you away.
That makes sense. And then there's some people that'll just
They'll take your money.
quick bag.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it stays and it works, I mean, like, in the piercing world, there was a lot of surface piercings that people always wanted, and it was always a good 10-minute conversation of trying to explain to them, like, I'll take $100 out of your pocket, and we'll go
Yeah.
back and throw this piece of metal in your face, but it's gonna fall out in 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, and it's gonna suck, and it's gonna look really gross, and you're gonna have to cover it up with a Band-Aid, like.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely... I never got too crazy. I got my tongue done, and then, I just took it out because I was tired of fucking biting on it and everything like that. Anyway, regardless about that, we have to get into the first segment. The first segment is What's in the Cup.
What's in the cup?
In the bottle, it's an almond cream soda from Red Ribbon.
Now, I've never seen that. I was up at Black Forge just a second ago grabbing that, and I was looking for cream soda, and I saw that it said almond, but I didn't read that it said cream soda on it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I never seen Red Ribbon.
Yeah, well, so Red Ribbon is Natrona Bottling, so it's actually made in PA.
Oh, really?
So at Black Forge, one of our missions is to try to actually support the PA economy as much as we can. Primarily Pittsburgh. If we can source it in Pittsburgh, we do.
Yeah.
If we can't source it in Pittsburgh, we try to source it as close to Pittsburgh as possible. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, just some things just aren't made here.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. The reason, so to start this off, to kind of like give people that are listening an idea is like, a little bit ago, I talked to Ashley, who was half of Black Forge Coffee, and my goal was to talk to you after you guys completed your crowdfunding, because I could have guessed that it would have been funded. I mean, you guys are doing cool shit. So I wanted to get you on after to kind of like wrap it up and kind of figure out where you came from, because like Ashley had a pretty interesting story and how she kind of like came into all this stuff. And I've always seen you around. Like me and you have like known each other in passing for
we both
probably like
bounced into
4 or
each other.
5 years now, ever since this opened. But I really have no idea about you. And then I honestly didn't know at first that you were part of the owners of owner of Black Forge. Because like I only ever seen her there anytime I would go there, and anytime I would like kind of see anything posted by that. But I thought it was super interesting, like the whole idea of everything, and people really responded well to, the whole conversation that me and her had, because I think it's because you guys are doing something so different.
Yeah.
And like we were explaining before, like what would you say Black Forge is?
So I've had to answer this question so many times that I've been able to shorten the answer. And the way that if I was emailing somebody that's never heard of us, I usually intro us as a black metal themed coffee shop / venue / gallery.
Yeah, that's a perfect way. A very, very abridged, perfect way to describe it. And you guys are. So we were talking about the Kickstarter. You guys had a Kickstarter, and your goal with the Kickstarter was to open a new venue.
Yes. Well, we wanted to get our headquarters. Like, we needed something that was ours, that could facilitate everything that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen the current storefront. It's tiny.
Yeah.
You can only fit 49 people in there. You get about 25 people in there, and it gets a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, like, we wanted to roast. We wanted to be able to explore just so many ideas, and I'm sure that Ashley probably went over all that as well.
Yeah.
And we knew that we didn't want to rent again, because if you have landlords, you technically have bosses. They control what you can do with that space.
Yeah.
For not everything, but if they don't want you doing something to their building, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So we wanted something that was ours, and also further equity. We want to be able to expand at some point
absolutely.
in time. And so we needed to own something, and we needed to get the business to have some equity. So if in 2 or 3 years, if we try to do something else, if we wanted to buy a bottling machine, or if we wanted to like get into brewing, or if we wanted to even like just expand and open a third location, we can go to the bank and have something to borrow against.
Yeah, you got some collateral and shit.
Because trying to lend as a small business is a nightmare.
Yeah, and that's what she kind of made aware to me as I was talking to her. She kind of explained some of the fucking trials and tribulations that you guys like were going through. The last thing I remember her talking about was the grease trap. in that piece or in the place that you're at now.
Yeah.
And I think whenever I said venue before, that's the wrong word. That's the wrong verbiage. Because I feel like people hear venue and they think of like a performance space. But people that listen to her episode realize that, like you just said, brewing, cooking, or baking, cooking, whatever, really like expanding into being like a substantial, like self-sustaining, I would say.
Right.
And it's awesome to see that. So that's why, like, I wanted to kind of figure out how you even got into this. Like we were talking about before, you have piercings in your face, you got big ass locks and shit like that, tattoos, and you're just, I mean, you seem like to be an interesting guy. Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a super small town in Michigan called Ionia, Ionia.
Ionia.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Most people haven't heard of it.
And
it's really, really tiny.
Now, when did you move to Pittsburgh?
When I was like 24,
Oh,
25.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved away from home when I was 22.
Yeah.
I moved to Ohio to join a band, and we wrote an album, and we played out like I think once. And at that point in time, I started like a side band just to have fun with, and then we all got along really well, so we decided to get a house so that we would have a basement to practice in.
Yeah.
Sharon, PA, rent was incredibly cheap. I think
Yeah,
we were paying
Sharon,
like
PA.
$550 for a 4-bedroom house. So my rent was like $175 a month.
Yeah, that ain't shit.
Right. And like we had everything. And it wasn't the greatest house in the world, but it was great for a 22-year-old that was just delivering
I'm sure
Chinese
it worked.
food.
We didn't give a fuck and just we're looking for a place to play some music and chill.
Yeah, exactly. And like Sharon, PA was where that street shop was where I got that job.
Yeah.
And then throughout the couple years that I lived there, you know, I made friends and met people in different industries that did different things. And one of my close friends, Jerry, who is still a piercer, he's the head piercer down at Hot Rod right now.
Yeah.
He was learning how to do microdermals, which was like a really big trend like 5 years ago. It still is around, but not as popular as it was.
Microdermal is just like you'll see like a rhinestone or something coming out of the skin.
Right.
Okay.
A lot of people were getting it right under their eye, like a teardrop.
Oh yeah. Now that you say that, yeah, I remember that.
So one of the things in the piercing industry and in the tattoo industry is you need volunteers. You need test subjects, that are willing to let you try something out on their body.
Yeah, fuck your shit up.
And I trusted Jerry. I knew how passionate he was. I knew how much he paid attention to it. He had experience, and like he was just like, dude, the procedure's pretty simple, and it really isn't that complicated. So I was like, I'll let you learn. I'll come up there. And so I got to meet the owner because he was kind of watching over him and showing him how to do it. He liked my personality. They were losing an employee at the time that I happened to come up there, and so like a couple of weeks later I got a phone call and they're like, hey man, I don't know what you got going on where you're at, but if you want to move to Pittsburgh, there's a job for you. And so I was just like,
damn.
Coming from a super small town, that's all I wanted to do was find a way to live in a larger city.
And be able to like live and get paid and be able to make it there.
Well, and just be around culture, man. Like growing up with no culture,
That's
like it was just people that were obsessed with sports, country music, and being racist. That's
Where you lived?
Yeah, that's
now,
like the three pastimes.
Now, how big was your high school? Like
Not
how many
big.
people? How many people? Like not anything big at all. Like you were a small school.
Yeah, I think like a couple thousand people I graduated with, like if that. Like,
okay.
Like it was. I mean, we also took in some of the small towns around our town that weren't big enough to have a grocery store. They had I'd say like a really fancy gas station.
Yeah,
they
had some extra shit in there.
Yeah.
So it was like a country setting, like.
Oh yeah, I remember one house I lived in was so far out on a dirt road that we had to have like satellite just to get really slow internet.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, like what was it like growing up for you? Like what kind of shit were you doing when you were
Video
a little
games.
kid?
I was really into video games and movies. I was a big horror film fan, so like I would every weekend I was at the video store taking out stacks of movies and stuff and playing video games with my friends and just digesting as much music as I could, buy a lot of the magazines and like be like, oh, this guy said he likes this band, I'm gonna go try to find them.
And like kind of spiderwebbing off.
Yeah, and once we found out about the that CD warehouse, do you remember that ad that would come in the magazine?
Yeah.
So one of our friends figured out how to kind of get around them charging you. So like if you were under the age of 18 and you ordered all of the records and all the CDs and they mailed them to you, they'd start sending you bills. Well, all you have to do is have your parent call in and be like, well, my son's not 18, he can't legally sign a contract. So technically,
Oh, wow.
I was not legally obligated to anything because I wasn't allowed to sign the contract. So they stopped calling.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, so but me and 4 of my friends all did that, and then we would just swap CDs.
Yeah, it
You
makes
know,
sense.
just
I
trade
remember
them
that.
around.
Like, so how old are you?
When that happened?
No, how old are
right
you
now
now?
I'm 32.
Okay, so like I'm 28, so I definitely remember that back, like swapping big ass binders full of CDs and everything like that, mixtapes and everything.
I was a master at Napster.
Oh, yeah?
Sorry to all my musician friends, but yeah, I found bands through people's folders and like, oh, this guy likes this band. Let's see what else he has, and putting together records of bands while they're doing demos while they're in the studio and stuff.
I don't remember it. Like my brother was 6 years older than me, so like he was like always into like grabbing shit online, like pirating, finding shit. And I never really had to, like I've talked about this before, like my dad's like a master mechanic. I was never obligated to learn how to fix my own car because my dad's like a wizard. My brother, same way with that, was never obligated to learn. So I never really fucked with Napster. My first like experience with like, pirating anything is like LimeWire and shit, and like just fucking my computer all up because I was doing it
AIDS
wrong and everything.
PCs, yeah, for sure.
And it was pretty wild, that whole like Napster. That was pretty revolutionary then.
For me being like in a small isolated town, like I think there was when I started a band and I was like 16, there was one other band in town and they were a Weezer cover band.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they good?
I never saw them play. But their singer came and joined our band and started singing for us, and we were a metal band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you guys were probably better than that, right?
We were terrible for years, but eventually, like, we got some traction and got to tour and stuff, and we wrote, like, a decent record.
What was the name?
Flesh and Blood Robot?
Flesh and Blood Robot.
Yeah.
Wow. And how old? You said you were 16 when this was happening? Like, whenever you started?
When I started that band, we didn't tour until I was, like, 21.
Oh, so you were doing it for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Music became like everything. I mean, like I guess like that kind of brings the conversation full circle. That's
yeah.
How we got to Black Forge. Like music was my life. Like that was I played guitar since I was 15.
That's why I was asking, because like if you're into metal and shit like that, like how were you exposed to that genre? Like what did you start off on?
Oh, 80s hair metal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually going to see Dee Snider perform in a couple weeks, and I'm so excited about it. Yeah, I'm really pumped about it.
That's pretty awesome.
Twisted Sister was like one of my favorite bands when I was like 13 years old.
What song I was obsessed with was Jackal, Lumberjack.
Oh yeah.
Years, just like I just remember I don't know why I loved it, just because of the chainsaw, and it was just like, I was definitely into some of it. My dad was more of like, the earlier shit, like Doors, Led Zeppelin and all that, but, I delved into that a little bit just because of like the radio shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome though, man.
Yeah, I gained an appreciation for that like 60s and 70s kind of like psych stuff.
Yeah.
After the 80s hair metal. When I started becoming a musician, that was when I started really appreciating the genius behind that kind of stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
And, where like 80s hair metal was really like just like standing on stage and jerking off at how good you were with your instrument.
Yeah.
And like 60s and 70s rock was like just psychedelic. They were just whacked out on acid trying to like figure out what kind of weird noises they can make with their instruments.
Absolutely.
And it was that stuff was really cool to kind of get into. And then from there, that was when I heard Enema from Tool for the first time.
Okay.
And that was kind of like, what is this?
Yeah,
and
it's a whole new thing.
And then my friend showed me the cover of the first Slipknot self-titled record. And at that time, I had known about like a little bit of like the new metal, like mall goth kind of stuff. Like I was aware of it because some of it was hitting MTV.
Mall goth. And now you say mall goth. I've never heard that.
It's a newer term. That's kind of like how like people describe old new metal kids.
Is that like like Atreyu and shit, and Slipknot, like the? I'm saying like the more mainstream, like heavier music.
I would say more like do you remember Stained?
Yeah.
Korn.
Oh,
so
okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like safety pins all up their arms and their hoodies and stuff like that.
My first experience of Korn was, McKeesport had this thing called like No School Fun Day, where if you were off school for like an Act 80 day or some shit, you could go through the YMCA, pay like $15, and they take you on a field trip basically, so your parents could still like work and shit. And, I did that all the time. I fucking loved it, dude. They would take you to the zoo, ice skating, swimming, all kinds of cool shit.
That sounds great.
It was. And the lady who ran it, her name was Susan Cicchini. I still remember it. She had a son named Joe, and he was older than me. He had to be maybe 10 years older than me, but he showed me Rammstein, or however you pronounce it, the correct pronunciation. And I remember he was wearing a Korn Fall the Leader shirt, and I was like, man, that is so sick. And I just remember he was the first person to like kind of let me listen to that music on the bus on the way to ice skating. And I'll never forget that, just because like I remember hearing it and I remember thinking like, this is so bizarre, because that whole time I'm listening to fucking, like not Slipknot, but like Sum 41 and shit like that. So I was never really like exposed to the mall goth shit, as you say.
Well, I mean, like I consider it nu metal. Like, I mean, that's what it was then. It was nu metal, and that's kind of how I grew up labeling it. But it's weird because I made a transition from mainstream hip hop at the time. Like, I was really into the No Limit stuff.
Oh, really?
Like Master P and Silk to Shaka and stuff like that.
My brother brought all that home.
Oh yeah, that was like that, and basketball was what I tried to find fun things to do in middle school. And then like, as I got into high school, that was music kind of came in and took over.
No Limit Records. I still go on eBay to try to find jerseys and stuff. It's impossible though to find a No Limit Records
that
jersey.
Would be sweet.
I wanted to get it for a while, but like 4 years ago I tried to find it to go to Kennywood, but you can't find anything, especially in a 2X.
I always wanted one of the chains.
Absolutely.
Like the No
with
Limit
the tank.
Yeah,
absolutely, dude. I remember my brother.
That was like a status thing in high school.
For Easter, I had I was getting CDs, and my CDs were like fucking Sugar Ray and Uncle Cracker Follow Me.
I had Sugar Ray.
Yeah, absolutely, so good. And my brother had, it was a black No Limit CD with like a neon green tank on it, and like he was older than me, so I was always listening to this, make him say shit like that, and I was like, man, they're fucking swearing, like this is crazy. And like that was cool. That's what was cool about having like an older brother, because like the R rating really never applied to me in movies,
right?
Because like he was older, so I was always watching shit with him anyway. And I think that me being exposed to all that stuff whenever I was younger and not like sheltered in it kind of does you a service, rather than like kind of giving you like Catholic schoolgirl syndrome, where you're like sheltered and then you go fucking crazy once you get the first taste of freedom.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But
if it's not taboo and you can normalize it a little bit, it's not such a big deal. I think that's why like they see in other countries that, like when they legalize marijuana, the usage goes down.
Yeah.
Or when they lower the drinking age, like the usage goes down. Yeah. Because it's not such a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever you tell them they're not allowed to do it, they don't really want to do it too much anymore. It definitely makes sense.
That was, so I remember like during that era, the era of music that we're talking about right now, there was like the big censorship wars that were going on at that time. And like that was when, I remember people would get in trouble for wearing certain T-shirts to school. You'd have to turn them inside out. Like Manson shirts were not allowed. Didn't matter if they swore or not. Like you could not wear a Manson shirt at our high school.
Yeah, I remember that was a big deal. Well, I didn't remember it, but it started to come back to me whenever Manson was on Mark Maron's podcast, and he was talking about that. Like after Columbine and shit like that, it almost destroyed like everything he's ever had. And he was talking about it. He was like, I really didn't even do anything. It's just like I was the poster boy of like, all these kids are so troubled and everything. And it's pretty wild to hear about that shit, because I was a little bit too young for it, I feel. Because what years were that? Probably like...
I couldn't give you the exact year. I don't remember.
Because like I can't even remember when Columbine was. But I remember like Manson was kind of considered like... where I remember my parents were like, he's kind of weird. Like that was like the shit that they were like trying to stray me away from.
Forbidden in my household.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what were parents like?
They were just pretty straight-laced normal people. My dad was big athlete. In high school, like a really good athlete. You know. My mom's into horses. You know? Yeah, like they're pretty normal people. It's weird now because they're more into the stuff I'm into now. Yeah. As I get older, my dad has tattoos now. He's got like a half sleeve. I took him to a couple of my tattoo artists and stuff. Yeah, my mom thinks every time I see her, she's like, "What new tattoos do you have? I want to see them."
But beforehand, they never had any of it.
Oh no, I used to get into arguments with them all the time. Like they, because that was also a time where like there was an order to life. It was, go to school, do good in high school so you can get into college, go to college, get a job, get a career, and retire.
Married, kids.
Right.
Yep.
That was
die.
also right at the cusp of when everybody started realizing how much of a ripoff college was.
Yep.
And like really, like, it was only a small percentage of people that went to college actually got a job. Most people just got debt.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going on like that today. Like, I know people that have, 6 years of school that aren't even using it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like my mom listens to all my podcasts, and my mother, my household was very, it was interesting growing up because my mom was always like corporate lifestyle, worked her all the way up to a big company, PNC, and I have that side to learn that I learned from her.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad was like, like kind of like the self-sufficient, like had his own construction, fixed cars, motors and stuff. So I kind of learned like the whole, the hustle side from him, go out there and get your money and shit like that. And, kind of like bet on yourself rather than just like be secure at a corporate company. And I think that my mom listening to my podcast and listening to long form versions of why I do what I do and think how I think it kind of like exposes, like a harsher, not harsher, but like a more realistic explanation of like what's available now. Like we could run a fucking business from our cell phones.
Right.
And we're just in the world we're in a world now that I feel that like older people, like past the age of like, most people past the age of like 45, 50, they just don't understand the possibility of what's there. Like they're just starting to understand like, oh, podcasts, like since she's delving into all that. And like my dad's like starting to like kind of get into it a little bit more. And it's interesting to like hear like how she maybe chews on what I have to say and everything, and like because she calls me after everything. Oh, I like this. You swore too much. Talking about this. I liked hearing about this.
When she has to listen too.
Yeah, she has to listen.
She can't interrupt you and redirect the conversation.
That's exactly it.
So she has to like hear out the entire thought process. And I can relate to like what you were saying. Like my grandparents own their own business, and I was really close to my grandparents. And they were my first employer, so I worked for them as soon as I was old enough to tear apart a chair. They owned a reupholstery business.
Oh, really?
So like you would always have to take the couch apart, and then they'd put it back together and make it look really nice.
Yeah.
So there's not much you can mess up tearing a piece of furniture apart.
Yeah.
So they're like, here's the tools, go at it. And here I had my parents on one hand saying like, go to high school, go to college, get a job, work your butt off, and you'll retire and be rewarded. But then I had my grandparents who owned their own business, and they had this massive house. They had flat screen, or the big screen TV. My grandfather still to this day has a massive satellite dish. Massive. We're talking the size of a garage in his backyard.
Oh, one of the big ones, like contact with.
When satellite came out, my grandfather was on it. Like he was on it. Like he was one of those dudes that if he thought it was neat and cool, he bought it. Like he had a Bowflex the day that the infomercial hit the TV.
Gazelle and everything.
Yeah, for sure. He would buy like Game Boys just for his flights out to Vegas, and I'm like, okay, who's winning here? Like the person that has a boss, or the person that went out on his own? And like he works until noon half the time. He just goes out, puts the chair together.
Way
like,
happier.
Good enough.
He's probably just way happier. I mean, even in the part where he obviously had to go through a struggle. He's probably even happier than someone who's just waking up every day, falling into line, and just kind of like going by, doing the same shit every day.
I mean, that's kind of what forced Black Forge. I mean, Black Forge was very much like an endeavor, like a labor of love, and something that we wanted to see. It was a dream.
Yeah.
But it was almost like we had to do it. I'm sure that I actually told you like where she was and what she was going through when we were about to open the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Sitting out on the porch, just having coffee and talking about ideas. And we've all kind of sat around and been like, somebody needs to open this. Like how come nobody has a video rental store with like bean bags and a place to smoke weed? Like dumb things like that. You all kind of sit around with your friends and come up with like these dumb business ideas.
Absolutely.
But, like me and her, we were just kind of going back and forth on these ideas and what we wanted to do, and we're like, Pittsburgh doesn't have anything like this, And like she worked at most of the venue spaces in the area. She knew the promoters, she knew the bands, and she was like, yeah, there isn't really anything going on like this. We should try to do something. And we both had enough connections and knew enough people. And she was in a space where it was either that or she was finding another job, and there was no way that she could do it.
Yeah.
And I was at the end of my rope with bosses. I just couldn't handle being told to do something shitty for $8 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole schooling thing, how we were saying before, how it's just like, I mean, school is basically just showing the person that you're applying to, that piece of paper is just showing them that you could be taught. It's
You can follow directions.
Yeah, you can just follow directions, and the more shiny the piece of paper, and the longer you could be taught easily, and like that's the more you get paid, and it's fucked up because like I mean we're just being trained to be robots, and I think about this shit all the time, and it's fucking the more I think about it, the more depressing it is, and like I mean I'm happy. Fortunate enough to have a good job that like I enjoy. Like I genuinely enjoy working at this place that I work. I do engineering shit. I design pieces of pipe, custom pieces of pipe that people need to order, and I enjoy it because it's a full task to the point where I get an order, I fulfill an order, the order goes out, and like it's all different types of jobs, but it's still the same thing, and I enjoy that. But it's still not my passion,
Right.
and like I feel like that's like kind of why it's inspirational. It's inspirational to see you, Ashley, other people that I know that are just like young entrepreneurs that are just like, fuck it, I'm gonna bet on myself because I know that I'm gonna be able to figure shit out.
Yeah.
And like I have the same type of mindset. Like I'm not scared to bet on myself. I'm not scared to ever like I would never let shit go bad. Like I'm not afraid to work hard and shit like that.
Right.
And I think that there's people that know that they can do that, and whenever they like say things like, oh, let's open a movie store with beanbags and a place to smoke weed, there's people that just think about that shit as just an idea, and there's people that are just like, I could really fucking do this, and I'm not afraid to like deal with all the shit that I have to deal with to be able to make this happen.
Right.
And I think that that's what's different between people like you and other creatives and like the people that are just sitting on their couch, just thinking about shit.
Well, what's weird is that society and media and educational entities and stuff like that, they do a really good job of creating this facade that there's gatekeepers, that if you don't have a proper education or a way in or a lot of money, then you can't do something on your own. You're always going to have to work for somebody and work your way up.
Yeah.
And then you work your way up to the point where you can save up enough money to then eventually open up a business.
Yeah.
Because that was the only success story that you ever heard growing up. You never heard of anybody just going out and bootstrapping something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't really think that it was a possibility until I started working with Buzzy on the podcast and stuff, and working out of here, and just seeing all these small businesses operate off of a desk.
Yeah, and
They're like, I have a computer and I have a desk. I can meet people over here, and I'm somehow getting funding, and I'm paying my rent. I don't live super well, but I can feed myself.
Yeah,
I don't have a boss.
Yeah, and you're not fucking. You have a roof. Like
that's all I ever wanted.
Yeah,
that's
like I don't really need much. Like
Right.
I have a shitty car. I'm not driving a fake ass like I'm wealthy off Beamer like some people. Like I don't know how people afford car payments. Like I have a bunch of friends paying $400+ for cars.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me sick. I'll ride my '92 Buick out, but it's wild. Now that you say this, like social media, I feel is just like such a big deal because like it's a double-edged sword because it puts the possibilities in your hand. Like you could see that it's physically possible to create and manifest some idea into a way to monetize it and make money and get paid. But it's also like the bad part about it is I feel that it oversaturates things. There's so much bullshit out there that it kind of is harder for the person to find what is worth it, like the project that's actually like worth seeing and worth supporting, rather than just all these people that are just out here faking it, trying to like do some shit just to make a quick buck.
Right.
And
it's hard to stand out.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to stand
Right.
out, but I think like the shit that you guys are doing, like as I was saying with Ashley, like I mean, you're a what genre coffee shop? Heavy metal, death
say
metal,
it's black metal themed.
black metal. It's like that's a different type of genre of music. Like what was going through your mind like whenever you were like, oh, we're gonna open this coffee shop and kind of make it black metal? I feel like that in the beginning, did you know that there would be people that would respond to that?
So the black metal thing is more about the imagery.
Yeah.
That was something like Ashley and I are not to sound cheesy, like and we don't actually subscribe to the religion, but we would consider ourselves Satanists, and the fact that like Satanism teaches like you are your own god, you make your own fate. And I love the imagery around Satanism, and black metal just like embodies that, you know, like that's what they're about, you know. And it was just like one of those things where we knew we wanted to be extreme with our imagery.
Yeah.
And everything that we talked about when we were sitting on that porch was we would market the place like a band, because that's all that we knew. You know, like I knew how to promote a band. I knew how to sell band t-shirts.
Yeah.
I know how to get people to listen to a track on the internet. So how does that translate to a coffee shop? And so that was kind of where the marketing kind of came around, was just her and I kind of riffing off of different bands that we're really into, and like, oh, they did this and that worked really well. We could probably do it this way. You know, like one band that we bite a lot is Glassjaw, which is actually how me and Ashley know each other. We met at a Glassjaw show in Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And we're both idiots and extremely obsessed with them, and we've driven to New York, and I've driven to Chicago, and like, yeah, dude, it's just ridiculous. They're my Grateful Dead, you know. That's who they are to us.
See, I think it's super cool because like you can make a coffee shop and kind of like, I don't know, whatever the term you want to say, but like sell out and just make things that is going to make a bunch of people want to come to and cover it with generic shit. But you guys made something that is like really what you love, and you are making it successful. And it's such a bizarre concept that you're like, I think you guys should get more credit than you do, because like, I mean, a black metal coffee shop just in Pittsburgh, and you guys are like thriving right now. Like, I mean, it's that's what's super cool to me, because it's just like you're sticking true to like your roots and like what you guys love, and you're just like, fuck it, like I'm gonna just do it and make it work.
Well, so like I think that one of the main reasons why the success that we have is because it's extremely genuine.
Yeah.
Everything about Black Forge is that it is just an extension of us. Where do we want to hang out? Let's create that space.
That's a good point.
If I wasn't a band, where would I want to play? Like, hey, we have this big empty wall. Why don't we get local artists in here? You know, like it was like one of those things where it wasn't like, oh, I know how we can make more money.
Yeah.
It was like, no, like, what holes can we fill? What gaps can we fill that artists and musicians need? Like, what can we create for people that was not there for us?
Yeah, like that's, and just basically what you wanted to always. And yeah, that's super awesome. And so like, what's the whole like, what's your plan as far as like this new space? Like you guys you guys got funded. So what's like the next move for this whole space?
Primarily production, self-production.
Yeah.
So we're going to be roasting our own coffee, baking our own food, making our own food. We'll have a bigger venue space, which we're finding ourselves like we just keep hitting walls with a small space. So bands will hit us up, and they'll be big national touring bands like, hey, we like what you're doing, we'd love to play, what's your capacity? And we're like 49 people, and like they don't respond.
Yeah, it's just like not worth it for them, because like 49 people, they can't make anything.
They'd have to charge like $75 a ticket just to try to make what they would make at a 250, 300 person venue.
Yeah, that
space
makes
they're
sense.
Used to playing. And you know, like that gets really frustrating when like a band that you really want to work with, you can't work with them.
Yeah, small things like that.
And like, so like with the coffee, which we've already kind of experimented with, this is, you know, we wanted to reach out and work with artists and make coffee for them.
Yeah.
That like is just like a kind of like a unique merch item for them.
Yeah.
And we did it with Code Orange, and we did it with Yob, and you know, it was a really cool response. The bands were really into it. It's kind of like that's kind of like us being a band. We get to go to the show and be a part of the event, but unfortunately we're just not on stage making music, but we're still creating something that's going along with it.
Giving some sort of creative outlet. That's awesome.
And everything that we do is extremely unconventional. Where most people in the coffee industry is, how do I sell the most cups of coffee? How do I get my roasted coffee in as many stores as possible?
Yeah.
Where that is still a goal of ours, but we're like, how do we become the go-to festival coffee shop? Like, if a metal festival comes to town, we want to get that phone call. If a band comes to town, we want to get that phone call. You know, like we want to like be that kind of like iconic coffee shop that isn't just known for
it's unique
creating like just coffee.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like
It's
we always
almost
thought
like
that we always kind of describe it that we're cultivating a brand, not just building a coffee shop.
Yeah, brand. That's a good way to put it. And how you said before, genuine. Like that's a perfect way to describe what you guys do up there. I feel is genuine stuff because like you know I would hope that it was like if I choose to ever have a business, like I would want it to be genuine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I like, stuff that I would want to, because I feel like it would be too exhausting to try to do things that aren't genuine.
Well, so that's the funny part. It's actually the exact opposite. So to stay true to who we are, it's been the hardest battle because that's not how you get money. You know, in the business world and including the small business world, being cutthroat and taking advantage of people and trying to get as much money out of your customers as possible, that's how you make a lot of money right away. You know, and so. That was kind of like a lot of bad guidance that we would get throughout the years is, have you guys thought about trying to do this? Well, our customers can't afford it if we do that. You know, it's like we can't raise our coffee prices up to $4 a cup. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
You know, but then all these other coffee shops are doing that and getting away with it. And we're like, we can't rip our customers off, you know? And especially when Ashley and I are the baristas. Yeah. We got to look at them dead in the eye, you know, and sell them that cup of coffee.
That's a good point, too.
And so, like, that's really hard. So, like, it actually, you know, like, it was a lot more effort because we had to put everything we could into every ounce of every project that we did. So
that's a really good point to think about, like how you were saying that it's the exact opposite. I didn't look at it from that perspective because like you can take a shortcut and just kind of sell out or whatever.
Well, we could have got our coffee like we could have got really cheap coffee that costs less than $1 a pound, you know, and we could have jacked that up to $3 something a cup, and we could have been raking in money, but we would rather work with a local coffee roaster and have them make our coffee, support them, keep them around, and we have something unique.
Still good, too, because
that tastes good.
I'm drinking this cold brew right now, and it's pretty damn good.
Right. Which, thank you, by the way.
Yeah, I also had that scratch roast that I bought from you guys, and me and my wife we both love that. And, I was never a big coffee guy in the beginning. I was always like, I was a foo-foo drinker. That's what my dad calls it. Like them glass Starbucks bottles that you get, mocha or vanilla. And like, I thought that was coffee. I was like, oh, I'm going to have a coffee and drink one of them. And it's just like a cup full of sugar and milk.
Right.
But now I'm more, like she converted me. She worked for Starbucks for like 6 years. It was right across the street from our old house. Became like a coffee master. And I know that like people have a sour taste in their mouth about Starbucks, but like she kind of made me have a love for coffee in a certain way. Like now I enjoy going to new places and finding like the small local coffee shops because like usually you could find one that is genuine and that is unique and does a certain thing. And I feel that the reason that I really, my goal with this podcast is to find people that I find interesting and talk to them. I could find people that have a big buzz or anything like that, but it's just like I like to learn like the mental process behind like what people are doing because it's motivational to me. It's interesting to me, and I don't even remember where I was going with it all, but like the coffee, I just have like a love for it now, and it's like we go to different places. Like Colorado had this really awesome coffee shop where you go there and there was like board games and shit like that, and it's just it's a very welcoming experience. And even though like you walk into Black Forge and there's a what's the word
Baphomet?
What is it?
A Baphomet?
Baphomet.
Yeah.
So basically just a big ass, goat head or whatever.
Big satanic goat, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you walk in there, but it's still like, hi, with a smile and everything like that.
It looks cool, man.
Yeah.
Like literally, it just looks cool. And like, that's why I dig it,
Exactly. And it's like I was telling Ashley, I was like, I don't know anything about, like I told her while we were talking, I was like, I didn't know anything about you. I didn't know if you were going to have like fucking, satanic voodoo dolls or whatever the hell. I had no idea of what it was. So it's cool to see like how you guys do believe in it, like the loose morals around it all, but the artwork and shit is cool. Like I really like your guys' like edgy I guess you would call it edgy approach to things. Like, for instance, your political punch cards.
Oh yeah.
Like, I talked to Ashley about that, and she was explaining how you guys got hate. Like,
so much hate.
And that's something that, like, out of these past years of, like, me knowing that you guys did that never popped into my mind, all the hate that you guys would get. Because, you know, like, we're fucking, you know, there's a lot of Trump supporters around here. And all over, and that made what, an international news, she said, or
yeah, I mean, like on a small level international, but on a big level national.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Reuters News picked it up, and like it was weird because I didn't know what Reuters News was, and like when we got that phone call,
yeah,
and the guy was just like, "Oh yeah, like it's for Reuters News," and it's like, "All right, cool. I don't have time right now. Call me back."
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like I told Reuters News, like I'll do it later. And then they did. They called me back, and I did the story, and it was kind of candid and everything. And then you know you look online, and it hit like LA Times. You know, and you're just like, LA Times, like,
now
what's
give a
the other
brief
side of the country doing?
explanation of what happened to lead to this.
So we created. I'm sure that a lot of people are familiar with like the buy 10 get one free like loyalty card that most coffee shops have. So living in a digital age, like the big push is trying to move everything over to cell phones and stuff like that. So I wanted to create something that people would want to use, because the other thing is too is that like I'm guilty of this. I had multiple different punch cards from the same coffee shop in my wallet, because you just don't think about getting it out and having them punch it. So I was trying to come up with a concept that would make people want to get the card punched.
That's a good point.
And so I was kind of like going back and forth with our graphic designer, and I was like, I want to do this thing where like let's just take like 10 obviously evil people, like people that like you don't have to argue. It's not like I have to convince you he's a bad person. Like there's track records of them doing terrible things. Because that wasn't even the first card that we made that got.
That's what she said. I didn't know that.
And we just put like evangelical TV people on there, and like just terrible politicians.
And Coulter and shit.
Yeah, and like it was just like very satirical and just like whatever. And I quickly Googled on it, smaller than average hole punch, because I didn't even know what technical term to use, and then I wound up on Amazon, and it was like an 1/8 inch hole punch, which I might have just gave away how everybody can get free coffees now. And I was just like, oh, this is perfect. And a graphic designer sent me back a card, and I was like, I like that, let's move some things around. He sent it back, and I ordered the hole punch, and it worked perfectly. Like it just looked like a bullet hole going through each one of their heads, and I was like, this is going to make people want to keep coming back to use this card. Yeah. Because they want to see each one go down. They want to see each one get punched.
And I don't think me and Ashley talked about it from that perspective. Just like you said, I have punch cards from all different places that are just numerous of the same ones that I'll have to consolidate in the end once I have 10 or whatever. But that's a good point. That makes people want to go get that punched and like see, you don't forget about it.
Well, and there's an actual progression, where some people kind of count down like, oh, I got 1, I got 2, I got 3, I only got 6 left, things like that. But there's actually like, oh, the next one is somebody that I really don't like. Yeah.
That's a good point too, because like before they were all different politicians, but the ones that I actually just turned in one of them, it had all pictures of Trump on it.
Yeah. We kept firing his staff. He kept firing his cabinet, and we're like, this person's not relevant anymore, like we could keep him on there, but people would be like, why? Yeah. And so like, and he just kept doing things, man. Like he just kept doing things, and it was just like, all right, this guy's, he's clearly like some kind of evil man. Like, and I try to pay attention to politics. I try to stay kind of plugged in. Yeah. And being the businessman that he quote unquote is. He has an agenda that he's trying to accomplish, and he's trying to like do things for the country based on what he thinks is going to be the best outcome. But he's doing it in the most evil possible way.
Yeah, very bizarre, and like there's no empathy or anything like that.
Yeah, and like in just being like just openly sexist and like just like openly like, well, not openly racist, but totally in support of racism, like
yeah, we could definitely agree on that. And I think what you were saying before, like another thing that Ashley was explaining about that like kind of made me realize is that whenever you do have like I never paid attention to politics ever, but she was like, yeah, I didn't really ever pay attention to it, but like whenever you are a business owner, you have to be aware of what's going on and like the laws that are being put in place and like how things are going in your in your country. Like whether you not my president or whatever like that, like technically it is your president, technically this is your country, so you have to be aware of what's going on with it whenever you're a business owner. And I didn't even think about it like that as well, because like now that I'm getting a little bit older, like I am trying to be plugged into what's going on in politics, and I'm still very ignorant to it all. But I definitely know that there's some weird shit going on, and like if you can't agree with that, like everything he does is just like, if you have time to tweet back at random people, like why do you have time to tweet back at fucking random celebrities? Like
the amount of money and time he spent golfing.
Yeah, like things like that are what what really raise concerns to me. And it's like I don't even have a dog in the fight, you know.
Well, the thing is he works for us. He's a public servant.
Yeah, and then he gives away his yearly presidential salary, and people are like, "Oh yeah, he's nice." Like, get fucked.
If I worked for you, and every week I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna go golfing this morning for 4 hours, and it's gonna be on your dime," you're gonna fire me eventually.
Yeah.
If not right away.
Yeah, I'd be jealous though, because I love golf. But I agree with you though. Like, and I don't really ever get into politics on here, because like I feel like people hear about it enough.
Yeah.
But like it's definitely relevant, because like you guys, like that definitely like made you guys relevant to, I mean, not even everyone that you want to be relevant to, but like a whole different group of people. And did you get a different customer base like after some of that shit hit the news? Like not really just like band kids or like whatever you would call the typical crowd that you would get there, but I'm talking about like people that are just like Bernie supporters and shit like that who hate Trump. Did you have people visiting your place just to kind of see what it was after that was going on in the news?
Oh yeah, we definitely did. We definitely had your average, like just like extreme left wing person coming in and like, I stand by you and I support what you do, and we're like, cool man, we really appreciate that. Like any support was good at that time. Like it was a very, very traumatic time. But also, like, we always had a diverse customer base. When we first opened up, I mean, because your average metalhead is a lawyer. Your average metalhead's a nurse or a doctor.
That's a good point.
And most people dabble in like a good broad range of music. And the thing is that places like Starbucks or your average coffee shop, they're so afraid of turning off anyone that they become so sterile and that there's just no flavor at all. So you can't identify with any of them.
That's a really good point.
Nobody's like, that's my Starbucks. That's the one I go to. It's just like you'll go to any Starbucks. If it's there,
it's
you pop in.
It's very bland.
Yeah, they all taste the same. Every single drink is going to be exactly how it is at the other one.
That's a good point.
And that's how most business operates, is that they're so scared of turning off 1% of their customer base that they just whitewash everything. Yeah,
and they don't give you any sort of like genuine feelings to grab onto.
Yeah, it all seems like it was bought out of Target.
Nothing to relate to almost. Do you yourself genuinely dislike Starbucks coffee?
No. I don't have a problem with it. I think they're like, I mean, like, and I might catch hate for this, but from what little bit I paid attention to them, I think they're a decent company.
No, I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about the actual taste of the coffee.
I haven't had Starbucks since we opened.
I figured that. See, there are some things that they have that I enjoy, like their nitro brew or whatever. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it tastes good, but there are other stuff I could take it or leave it. You could definitely taste quality difference.
When I was working at Hot Rod, I was a block down.
Yeah.
So like, you'd get that like 4 o'clock wind down. Like, I'm gonna go catch a coffee. And so like they would always have their seasonal lattes are great.
Oh yeah.
I used to get those all the time.
See, I've never really. I'm either just like iced coffee really, or just just a regular coffee. I never really fucked with any of the pumpkin spice or anything. I love fall, but I just can't do the pumpkin flavor.
Yeah.
And
I'm basic like that. I love that stuff.
Oh yeah. My wife is all into it too. The Christmas mint or whatever the fuck it's called. But
people hate on it, but Pumpkin is still one of my favorite beers.
I've tried it and it really ain't bad. Like I do like that, but I think it's more or less just like I'm not a big fan of cinnamon. And
fair.
I think like pumpkin and cinnamon go hand in hand to me, and that's what kind of turns it off. But warm, like the pumpkin beer is not bad. I would definitely drink that. But like I work in Southside. My second job is at Southside, so I'll go down there and I'll frequent different coffee shops and try different places. And there's some places down in Southside that are locally owned, or not locally owned, but just like not Starbucks. that I was not impressed with their coffee at all. And I gave them numerous times. You know, I probably went there 10 times. Every time I've been there, it kind of tasted like off to me, you know, different. And, you know, it's just like, I want to, like, I go there and, like, you have to give the company, like, some people won't even give it a chance.
Right.
Some people won't even give other places a chance. Like, you know, I'll go to the Beehive and I fuck with that place for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But some people always go to Starbucks just because it's just like a chain and they see it everywhere else. Whenever there's, like, other coffee shops, like, right next door.
Right.
And, like, right across the street. And it's fucking crazy to me.
I think it's consistency and brainwashing.
Yeah, it's safe. It's a safe move for them.
Well, and you see it. If you're familiar, you go with what's familiar. Like, a lot of people don't venture out into what's strange and different.
That's a good point. Now, you've always been a fan of coffee?
I mean, like, I've always drank. So, like, my grandparents drank, like, 4 pots of coffee a day.
Yeah.
So, coffee was always in my life.
Yeah.
But it was always, like, drip coffee out of a pot. You know, it was, like, Folgers, whatever. Like, I never knew a lot about coffee until we opened the shop up.
Oh, okay. So you weren't like a coffee snob. You just were a daily user.
I was the kind of guy like, oh, I'm tired, stopping at the gas station, buy the biggest coffee I can, throw a bunch of flavored creamer in it, and be out the door.
Yeah.
But I've never been like much of a snob about anything, you know. Like, like I mean, like, we all know people that are big beer snobs, but in my opinion, it's an alcohol vehicle. You know, like, I primarily like to drink whiskey and tequila because it's significantly less like volume of liquid.
Yeah, that you have to drink to get fucked up.
Drunk. And I mean, like, now, and I really like the taste of it. And I'm also like on like a health kick, you know, and like beer is like really bad if you're trying to lose weight.
For sure. That makes sense. People stick to liquor and shit like that.
So that always has translated the same thing to coffee, where like even now I just go in, I put a little bit of honey and a little bit of almond milk, and that's how I drink my coffee. You know, occasionally if I'm feeling like I really want to get crazy, I'll put together a latte with a little bit of blackberry flavoring in it or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
get a little bit crazy.
Yeah. No, I don't really do much. I try all the stuff that we do because I want to know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like you kind of expand your like you try different things, and whether it be stuff you like or not. Like now, whenever you travel different places, do you go to like, you know, other coffee shops and like, you know, see how it all is? And
so Chicago is probably one of my favorite cities, like right now. I
Yeah.
haven't been to a ton, but out of the ones I've been to, I really love Chicago. And they have some really awesome coffee shops.
I've never been there.
There's one, if you get a chance, there's one called the Wormhole, and it's just like it's really interesting. They have a legit DeLorean, full on car, not like just like a cut of it with like cardboard cutout, like full on DeLorean, like up on top of a wall in the back of their cafe.
Really?
And then like right below that is like an area that's set up like a living room with an old like floor set wooden TV with a Nintendo set on it. You know,
oh my God.
It's just a cool spot, you know,
Yeah,
and it's like very art friendly, and like you walk in and you're like, oh, I want to hang out here every day. But the problem is that so does everybody else. You wind up in line forever.
Yeah, it's like a tourist, it becomes like a touristy thing.
Right.
Someone told me about a bar, I think it was in Cincinnati. It was called like have you ever been to Boston? Mm-mm. So like there's a boutique in there called Bodega.
Okay.
And you go into it and it literally looks like a bodega. It literally looks just like an old gas station, just like across the street. Looks like that, except it's probably, you know, as big as from that part of the wall to the back there, and there's just a Snapple machine. Everything looks like it got dust on it. There's a random person working behind the counter, and you go hit a button on the Snapple machine, and it opens up, and it becomes this real high-end boutique.
Oh, wow.
Dude, it's so sick. But
I heard that there's actually a store downtown that a friend of mine worked at, and she's like, let me know when you want to come down, and I can take you into our secret, like, shopper vault that we have for like elite customers and stuff like that. And I was like,
that's crazy.
That really is a thing?
Yeah, it really is. And it's cool because like that type of thing, people hear about that, and then it might not spread like mainstream on social media, but it spreads by word of mouth. Like people hear about cool things. Someone told me about this bar, I think it was in Cincinnati, but it was set up like a movie store, and like you would go to the front desk and they'd be like, you know, go grab Alien, and you would go grab it and a door would open, it would be a bar. And it was just like kind of like this is like bar type speakeasy, and that's such a cool idea. Because like especially like the movie thing, I'm a big movie guy as well.
Oh, awesome!
I really enjoy movies, but it's cool to have like your own type of I don't want to say like touristy feel to it, but it kind of is a good way to describe it. Is like a reason for people to come and visit your stuff.
So that was by design. not to like get off of the traveling aspect of it, because I do pull a lot of inspiration through the different coffee shops that I go and visit.
Yeah.
But we knew opening up a coffee shop in the Allentown neighborhood, which didn't have a lot going on when we came here, we needed to create some kind of reason that would make people want to leave their neighborhood.
Yeah.
That was, another reason behind the live venue aspect, the art shows, collaborating with all the different local businesses and the different artists and stuff like that, is we needed to give people a reason to leave their neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you have a coffee shop in your neighborhood, why would you get in your car and drive to a different neighborhood to go to that coffee shop?
That's a good point.
So we had to figure that out, and we had to work really hard, and it was just like a lot of trial and error. Board game night didn't work, so let's try stand-up night. Okay, stand-up comedy isn't quite working this way, let's try it that way.
Yeah.
And we would just push and push and push until something would hit. And then same thing with the live events. We would work with different promoters, and certain promoters did really, really well. So we'd be like, you can book whenever you want. You know what? You're not even going to pay rent.
Yeah.
Book whenever you want. Let us know. And we did that for like the first 2 years. If you were a good promoter and you brought in good bands that packed the place, we didn't charge you anything.
That's awesome.
The only reason why we ever started charging money for stuff was because our audio equipment started getting broken.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because like it would just be me and Ashley working, and we would let the promoters or the bands run sound.
And people just didn't take care of shit if it's not
Mics
theirs.
would wind up missing. All of our cables were broken, and we weren't making money. So like trying to replace that stuff was expensive.
Yeah.
And we tried not to like have bottom line stuff. We wanted bands to sound good.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's the other downside, is that like we didn't want this to be an average basement show venue, where it's just like your friend's PA system set up on top of a box.
A floor show.
Yeah, right. So we wanted to make sure that like there was decent equipment in there and bands would sound good.
Yeah, because the people that are in bands that want to go travel around, they don't want to just play some whack ass fucking. You want people to. They want to come to a place that you could tell that is quality, like that you're putting in the time and the art and the quality for it, which makes it. That's a good point. Like that would make people want to come to it more. Right.
And then as far as like the Pittsburgh tourist aspect of it, because at first it was just like, how do we get people from the East End to come over here?
Yeah.
Honestly, first, how do we get people from Carson Street to come 3 minutes up the hill to come to us? That was our main priority, is how do we get the people in our neighboring neighborhoods to come over? And then it was, how do we get the East End and the North Side to come over here? And then the punch card thing happened. And then we became like this, like tourist. Like on Saturdays and Sundays, you're going to be in line all day.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
We get small little lulls where like we'll get through a line and you'll have about 5 minutes. But then it's like crazy busy, and it's always people in there with cell phones taking pictures of everything and asking us about stuff and buying merch and things.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
I shy away from like touristy, the word touristy, because I feel like that devalues like the overall entity of what yous are doing. But like I feel like for people that are listening, that's a good way to describe it. Like you go to almost like in House of a Thousand Corpses, whenever they go to Spalding's place and they see all that shit, like that's a touristy type thing. Like people have a reason to like that could come up online, because like anytime I travel anywhere, I'll look at the city we're going to, like Colorado, and I'll be like, oh, this place looks fucking dope.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, and like that's the only way you're going to be able to do that, because like if you don't do your research ahead of time, you're going to be there dicking around, wasting time trying to find a place. And it's definitely cool to just like, I was going to Philly. I went to Philly a few times, and like we just left and walked down the road, and like you'll find some cool shit, but like you gotta make the best bang for your buck. So like I'll research ahead of time. Like when we were going to Denver, I was like, oh, this place looks sick. Like I always try to go to different boutiques anytime I go to any different place, just because like I work at Threads, and like Threads is a cool boutique, and like if you're working in that field, you want to see what other people are doing, other successful people. There's places in Philly that's a store called Ubik that's like very, very big, like prestigious store, and like they're a big deal, and like that's your goal, is to be able to level up to, the next level your way, while still being genuine, while still being able to give people a product that you really feel passionate about and that you're happy with putting out.
Well, like that's the thing, is like you don't go to Philly and go, what's the coolest Starbucks?
Yeah,
because they're all the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all a sterile environment. You've seen one, you've seen them all.
That's such a good way to describe it.
Maybe the original one in Seattle. I heard that one's like a tiny little hole in the wall kind of space that does their own thing, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But also just through life experience of traveling and going to different things, you get better quality out of small boutique places, because they're vetting their products.
Yeah.
Like they're not buying mass manufactured things. and then reselling them for, you know,
Exactly.
600% markup. They're getting it from the guy that lives around the corner that's hand making it, and he's building it for his reputation. Like, he
Yep.
doesn't want somebody thinking that he's a bad craftsman. And that's the same thing with like the food that we sell. You know, like, these people are still trying to gain a reputation as bakers, or
Yeah.
like or as like the local deli right next door. They don't want people getting sick off their food or thinking that it's gross, so they're putting time into it. But we very well could order frozen cinnamon rolls and frozen muffins,
Yeah, and
and
you're
they're
gonna make more
all gonna
money.
be the same consistency of flavor and taste, and you know what, people will buy them and probably think that they're okay. And yeah, we'd probably make a ton of money, but it's nothing. There's no wow. There's no like, oh, this is
Exactly.
great. This is where I go to get this.
There's no reason for someone to want to travel from their place to yours to get their shit rather than going down the road,
Yeah,
which is
it's-
awesome. Like Ashley was talking about, like pizzas with the pentagrams and shit. Like, like that right there is just like a reason to be like, let's go fucking get this. Like,
Right.
let's just go try this place out. Like, you guys, like, I feel like it's easy for people to support something that they could relate to, and like, you guys seem like cool people and very relatable. So like, I feel like whether you're someone who has no tattoos, no piercings, don't even listen to like metal music, like, I'm not a huge metal dude, but like, I go in there and it's still like, you still get that same feel, even though there's a fucking satanic goat on the wall or whatever. And it's cool. It's a small pocket to be able to do that and run that smoothly. And it's cool that you guys are able to like kind of feel that out, and you guys are definitely making it there.
It's really interesting to see like how many people identify with what we're doing, and
Yeah.
how many people are into, if not one small aspect of what we do, the whole thing that we got going on.
Yeah.
And what's nice is that it is 2018, so a lot of people have been kind of desensitized to the imagery. Because if this was early 2000s, 90s, you know,
Yeah.
we would have been ran out of town with pitchforks by now.
Probably, yeah, for sure.
But
That's a good point.
I mean, it definitely. But you know, like, that actually brings up like a thought. You know, like then, like you have like your clearly manufactured to sell style stores that are out there. You know, like what Hot Topic turned into.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's transparent. You know, people see right through the facade. They can tell that, you know, like they've done market research that this color red on this color shirt is exactly what everybody's
Absolutely.
going to buy the most of. You know, where we're just making fun band shirts. Same thing with the pentagram pizza. We just want to have fun. And luckily we have similar tastes as a lot of other people.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't make anything that we wouldn't buy or wear.
Yeah, that's
I own
exactly
every
it.
single one of our shirts,
That's
and I wear
just
them all the
it.
time.
That's exactly it. It's much more rewarding whenever you can make something that you love and have people want that. And to be able to give someone something that people want to buy whenever it's something that you actually love. Like, I made clothes. I put exactly what I wanted on them clothes. And whenever people bought that, it was so much more rewarding than just putting, like, you know, some random generic ass thing on there.
There was a lot of really crazy milestones that would happen to us. So, like, the first thing was when I saw somebody wearing a Black Ford shirt on the Wild.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were just like, hey, and like that dude didn't even know who I was at that
Exactly.
time, and he was just like, oh yeah, I like that coffee shop. I'm like, yeah, me too, you know. and then the next time was like a band I really like played our venue and told us like this is our favorite place that we ever played, and you're
It's
just
awesome.
like, whoa, you know, like that's
Yeah.
crazy. And then like you become personal friends with certain bands that you've only ever listened to or paid a lot of money to go see, and they're just like, hey man, we're coming through town, we want to play your shop.
Yeah, like
And
on the
it's-
same professional level, like talking to you as people rather than just like fans or something.
And like so like you start to hit these mile markers and you're just like really like that was the stuff that Ashley and I like we nerd out on that kind of stuff. There was a band that played recently and they created a tour shirt for like the 8 dates that they did in America.
Oh, yeah?
And one of the tour dates on the back of the t-shirt was Black Forge Coffee House in Pittsburgh, PA.
What's the band?
Wormrot.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like this like converge kind of like D-beat sweet metal band.
And you guys' name is on the back of that.
So I went up to their merch table and I was like, "Oh, that's a sick shirt. I really want that." I was like, "Is that the back?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like looking at it and like it's a metal shirt, so it's not the most clearly screen printed thing.
Yeah, yeah,
you know? But there it was, Black Forge Coffee House, Pittsburgh, PA, and I
Wow.
was just like, "We made a tour shirt." You know?
Yeah,
like,
that's fucking sick.
yeah.
Especially two people being heavily involved in the music scene as much as you guys are. Like, if people didn't listen to the episode with Ashley, like she's talked about how she's been doing lights at different venues for years, and you've been in bands and shit like that, and I mean, like that's fucking crazy to see that like and progress, and
that's the stuff that like I text Ashley and I'm like, look at this, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, you know, I'm like, don't worry, I got you a shirt, you know, like
yeah, for sure, right?
like that's the stuff that we really like nerd out on, is when our peers or people that we look up to like what we're doing.
Yeah, dude, I made them clothes, and I went to a Wiz Khalifa show with a bunch of my friends. Like we all went out, and I'm standing there, and some dude walks by, and he's wearing a tank top that I made. And I walked up to him, and I was like, man, where'd you get that? And he was like, why? Like, he thought I was being like a dick. And I was like, I mean, I fucking own that. Like, that's me. And the dude was like, no way. And like that was like, probably, I'll never ever forget that in my life.
It's a crazy feeling.
It's a fucking crazy feeling to see that. I have chills right now because like I'm just walking in a concert and you see someone wearing the thing that you make. And, like I think that that's the coolest feeling ever. Like I do this podcast and I hear people, random people that like I went to high school with that I probably haven't talked to for 10 years. And they message me and they go, hey man, I'm listening to all your podcasts. I love what you're doing. You're just like, fuck man, that's awesome. And it just makes you, and whenever you get those good responses from people, it just makes you want to do better. It's like
Right.
your power meter just goes back up anytime you have one of them little milestones.
Well, you're like, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
I think I got something right for a change, because that's life, a series of failures until you get something right. And if you were to carefully recap the story that Ashley and I told, she's been doing lights for most of her career for bands. I was a musician and I was in a band, and it took 12 years of me and Ashley doing all these things and being disgruntled and hating what we were doing to finally land on something unique that was successful and doing well.
Absolutely.
It's still hard to say the word successful because we've only been around for 3 years, but I guess in the world of small businesses, you make it more than 2 and you beat the average.
I mean,
so
you guys are doing pretty well, right? And you guys have a real good support with the city. Like I see your shit everywhere. And that's what I think is so like so interesting, is because like black metal, like so many people that I'm sure don't even listen into the genre of music still love what you guys do, and that's the goal, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because the amount of people that come in that try to relate to me and Ashley by talking about bands is always really fun. They'd be like, oh yeah, like I saw Avenged Sevenfold last night, and you're just like, oh, cool man.
Backcountry, dude.
Yeah. It's I try not to like pretend like I'm some sort of like elite musician type guy, but there are just certain bands that I look down my nose at.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just funny
it's
because
good intentions though.
Yeah. It is just cool that they're like I like your story, I want to relate to you.
Yeah.
Like, this is me trying to be cool, and it's just like, nah, man, you're fine. Just buy coffee and hang out. Be nice, and you're cool.
Yeah.
But it happens pretty frequently when people come in and try to relate with bands and music and stuff like that.
Oh, I bet. Have you had any negative experiences personally
Just
being
the
up there?
Just the Trump stuff. The Trump stuff was crazy, man. The amount of death threats that we got, people wanted to shut us down, people like threatening our lives. I had to talk to the Secret Service.
Really?
That was really interesting.
Why?
Because they thought that we were calling for violence against Trump.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And the way that Fox News did their news piece, they focused on if I lived somewhere else and I saw this news piece, I would think that we were a bunch of Satanists that were going to shoot Trump too. It's like they were like, hey, check out this Baphomet. And then they looked at our drink called Shot in the Head. And then they looked at the punch card with like the hole through Trump's head. And like if you were Secret Service, you're like, well, I guess we got to go do our job.
Yeah, let's go get this kid.
Yeah.
So what was that whole process? They just called, like they
That was so scary. No, because they show up in plain clothes. I was at the climbing gym, and I was just sitting there, and it's one of my favorite places to do work because you have to have a membership to get in.
Where's this?
The climbing gym. It's Ascend.
Okay. Yeah.
So I sit over in like the little kitchenette area. They have a nice comfy couch, and I put on my headphones, and when I get frustrated answering emails because that gets fucking boring, I get up and I go climb walls. And then when I get burnt out climbing, I go back and do work.
Yeah.
And it makes for like a good productive day, and I don't feel like I just wasted eight hours of my life looking at a computer screen.
Yeah.
But I get a phone call, or no, Ashley messaged me on Facebook and was just like, hey man, not trying to freak you out, but some dudes just came in here looking for you, claiming to be the Secret Service. They were wearing plain clothes. They didn't leave a card or anything. They just wrote down a number for you to call.
Jesus.
And I was just like, are you kidding? I was like, okay. And this was in the midst of getting a ton of death threats. So my mind immediately went to these are crazy psycho right wings that want to come hurt us.
Yeah, they're just saying they're Secret Service.
Right. And like, since I was kind of like the
Jesus.
poster boy of that big news thing, because that guy came in and took my photo, and that was what all the news, like, that's what Reuters bought, was that one photo of me holding up the punch card. So that went out to all the publications.
Oh, really? That's what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
So when they came looking for me, they originally went to my house before they came to the coffee shop, which my roommate Buzzy was there hanging out, and like I messaged him and I messaged my other roommate Jerry, and I go, guys, I'm so sorry, but if you have somewhere else to stay tonight, I really recommend you packing up and not being home for a day or two. I fucked up. I'm sorry. I did not realize this punch card thing would get so out of hand.
Yeah.
But there might be somebody trying to hurt me or Ashley, and I don't think it's safe for you to be there. And Buzzy responds and he goes, dude, somebody was just knocking on the door. I didn't answer because I wasn't expecting anybody, but there was somebody just here knocking.
Christ.
So we're right next to a police station. So
Yeah.
Some of the cops are regulars that come in, including the sergeant at the time. And he came in, and I just told him what was happening. And he goes, okay, we work with the FBI and the Secret Service and stuff like that. So whenever the president wants to come through here, or somebody on the cabinet, vice president, they're coming to give a talk, they have to coordinate everything with the police to make sure that if they need to shut a road down, or if
Makes
they need
sense.
to do checks and stuff. So he's just like, I know how they work, I know how they operate. So come over. I have an app on my phone. We'll call them from this app, which will send them the same area code. So it'll show up as a phone number from the same area code that they're from. So if they are lying, then they'll answer thinking that it's somebody that they know.
Oh, okay.
And if they aren't lying, then it's the Secret Service. And we'll have them come to the cop station, and we'll talk here. So that way, if there's anything weird goes down, you have
guys
a
will be
witness.
there.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
so I'm like, okay, cool. So we do that.
Jeez.
And the guy answers, and he's like, we'll be there in 10 minutes. And it was one of those things where it was just like reality hit. Like, I'm about to talk to the Secret Service. Like, what does that mean?
Jeez.
Is my life ruined? I still haven't flown. So I don't know how much like shit I'm going to get when I fly.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that. If you were on like a watch list or something?
Right. I fucking hope not. I mean, over a punch card. But who knows? I mean, like, they're, maybe I pissed somebody off enough to where they're like, fuck that dude's life,
Yeah, that would be the worst, to go somewhere and be like, nah, you got flagged.
Right, exactly.
Jeez.
Or we got to go through everything, bend over.
My God. I didn't even think about that.
But yeah, so they show up, and again, plain clothes. They had like this good cop, bad cop thing going on. Like, the one dude's in a baseball cap, he's got sleeves. The other guy's like, you are a banker, like looks like a banker, big dude, button up shirt, you know. And the guy with sleeves is like talking to me nice, like he's my pal, he's my bro. He understands, man.
Yeah.
Like, he gets where I'm coming from. We know we're not trying to hurt anybody. And the other guy's like just sitting there pissed that he's wasting his time.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and they're explaining to me why, and they're like, do you have any intentions? And we're like, no, dude. Like, I'm too busy running a coffee shop to go to DC. The scary part is I was, due to all the death threats, had I not been busy, I was going to buy a gun the day before.
Really?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
If I would have bought that gun.
So, like, where were you
probably would've
getting
been
death
arrested.
threats at?
Mostly an email.
Oh, shit.
Facebook. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God. Wait, I'm sorry. I interrupted you before, but you said if you were not interrupted by the Secret Service, you were going to go buy a gun.
No, the day before, we just had a really busy day because we were just fielding interviews and like, news people and stuff like that. But my plan was to go down and file for a permit and get a gun.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy in the state of PA.
Yeah, it took me 5 minutes.
Exactly. And I was just like, better safe than sorry,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in my house and have some people
Not
throw
have
Molotovs through my window
Yeah,
or something.
for sure.
But yeah, had we not had a busy day, I would have bought a gun, and the very next day I would have been interviewed by the Secret Service.
Oh, my God. So what was that gun for you just bought?
Exactly.
People were fucking threatening to kill me. But you said you were getting death threats on Facebook, wherever.
They mailed us cards that said crazy things. People were doctoring photos of me and Ashley and making them say like weird things and putting those out there. There was like a whole campaign to give us 1-star ratings on Facebook and Google.
So that's what I was going to bring up. Like, that was something that Ashley brought up that I didn't realize, like, how detrimental that could be to a business. It's like you rate people 1 star and say, oh, I got sick here. Oh, this place had fucking bugs in it or whatever like that. That could destroy your reputation through anyone who doesn't have a dog in the fight. Like,
right.
If people read like I'm guilty of it too. If I go on Yelp and read like a bunch of reviews, like the first thing I do is look for the bad reviews. It's like there's a bunch of good reviews, but I want to see the bad ones. People say they found like a rat in their shit or something. Like, I'm not going to go there. But I mean, like, it's fucked up because people just do that maliciously and don't even have a bad experience. People that aren't even from around here just go in there and
Or
reviewing.
they had like a small bad experience and they make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, something small like oh, my coffee wasn't fucking hot or whatever like that, and they're telling me they say it tastes like piss or something. It's fucked up because like, and she was explaining you guys contacted Yelp to be able to like kind of explain to your situation and get some of the negative shit taken away, right?
Well, we kind of gave them a heads up, and they actually were already on it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah?
we started noticing a lot all at once, and so we flagged it, and we started monitoring who was doing it, and it was a lot of people that weren't from Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh. And we're like, oh, thank you. Well, just so you know, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we're just going to turn off your reviews for a while.
Man,
And,
that's
and
cool.
so like
man.
they just kind of stopped it, and then Google's a lot harder to leave reviews on because like it's tied to you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you'd have to spend some time making emails,
But
verifying
Facebook,
it.
no,
like,
everyone could just go on there.
yeah, exactly. And nobody cares. Like, you can be completely anonymous. You can make like 17 accounts if you want to.
Yeah, and people that take the time to do shit like that are going to take the extra time to make fake accounts, and they're just bored ass people that have nothing better to do.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, like, people tried really hard to mess with us. I mean, as scary as it was, most of the time we were laughing. We're just like, who are these people? Like,
Yeah.
how do they have this much time on their hands? Why do they care so much?
That's definitely crazy, though.
Yeah.
Secret Service, like, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, and the scariest part is that while we're sitting there, there's a manila folder sitting on the table between us, and like I'm not really paying attention. I'm just like, oh, you know, like that seems like a standard item to be around in this scenario. Like,
It's your file, right?
It was. Yeah, it
Everything-
was my file. And it was like probably like a 1/4 inch thick, and I didn't realize until halfway through the conversation, like it says, you know, like Nicholas Miller, and I'm like, wait, is that on me? Like I interrupt like the whole topic of whatever we're talking about. It's like, is that my file? And they're like, yeah, that's just what we put together in the 10 minutes we were waiting for you to call us.
Jesus. Now, did you have any sort of criminal record or anything?
No, I got like a minor in possession. I got caught with alcohol when I was underage, and then like a couple speeding things.
Now, do they bring now? How long did that whole like interview process go on with them?
10 minutes.
So they kind of knew that you weren't gonna.
They were annoyed.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't want to be there. They knew that, but the thing is like that's their job.
Yeah,
Because if,
absolutely.
If we were crazy people and they didn't come and check on us,
Yeah, and it's probably their profession to know if you're a psychopath or not.
Right.
Supposedly, a kid in my high school, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm pretty sure it is. Supposedly, a kid in my high school said something about like killing Obama or some shit. And supposedly Secret Service showed up to his house too. So I mean, if it's,
that was actually what they told us. They're like anytime that somebody says something crazy, we got to show up and investigate.
well, I mean, I guess you have to. Like, you don't know what holds water and what doesn't.
Yeah, and like the one thing that you ignore happens to be the real crazy person that shows
Yeah.
up and tries to do something.
That's fucking insane. Well, I mean, like that's like, I mean, that's proof right there. People try to rip you down, but you guys are still fucking killing it.
What's funny is that Pennsylvania was a red state, but Pittsburgh was a really blue city. You know,
Yeah.
like we definitely voted Democrat, and you know, like all the people that hated us
We're from not
were
around
not
here.
from Pittsburgh. So like it wound up being like a really cool marketing tactic almost. Like it wound up just
like some guerrilla marketing type almost.
yeah, alerted everyone in Pittsburgh who we were and where we were at, and like all of a sudden we like our sales went up like crazy, and we're just like,
Jeez.
thanks to the haters, you know, like our ratings on Facebook went in the garbage, but you know we got probably thousands and thousands of dollars of free advertisement out of it.
Yeah, in the long run, it definitely helped. It's like that famous Stars and Straps brand.
Mm-hmm.
There was a shirt that I just remember this fucking girl in high school used to wear. It said, "Keep talking shit, you're making me famous." Those people in high school,
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah.
That's
Those
hilarious.
old Hot Topics shirts that
Oh
were just
my
like a
God.
sentence, like
Yeah.
you laugh because I'm different, I laugh because you're all the same.
Oh
like that
my
stupid
god,
shit.
yeah, that's the worst. All them fake, the fake goth Stephen Barry type.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's fucking awesome, man. So when do you guys have any timeline on when you want the new place to open?
We want to be open by fall, you know, sooner if possible. But with these things, it's not really in our hands. You know,
Yeah.
like Ashley and I work really hard, and we'll get everything done to the best of our abilities as fast as we can do it. But usually 9 times out of 10, you're waiting on an inspector to show up.
Yeah, for sure.
And that inspector is going to throw a wrench, like the
grease trap.
The grease trap. Everything's done, ready to go. Oh, you guys need a grease trap.
Yeah, it's
Are you
just
serious?
a fucking snowball.
Yeah, so we have to put all new plumbing in and spend an extra $4,000.
That's terrible.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that you usually, whatever holds you up, it's usually out of your hands. But we did the current Black Forge primarily just Ashley and I, except for the stuff that we legally had to have done by like a master.
Someone registered or whatever.
Yeah, licensed and insured and things like that. But otherwise, Ashley and I are going to go at it. We've had a ton of amazing people reach out to us that are like, I can do this, I know how to do that, let me know, I'm ready to help. There are people that are just like, if I can just come sweep, I'll come help. I would.
That's awesome, man.
Come help you guys get this done and get you guys going. The amount of support that we got from this Kickstarter campaign was insane.
Yeah,
it was
dude.
Incredible.
Like, I was just monitoring it. It started the day that Ashley and I interviewed. She released the email that day, and seeing it. I was kind of keeping tabs on it all, just seeing however I would see that number climb, and I'm just like, fuck, like, you guys are already over halfway. And it's so cool. Like, it was so cool to see that, because like she was talking about in the beginning, like she was like, who knows if it'll work? Who knows if people want to, like, some people frown upon the whole fact of like companies asking other people to crowdfund.
Right.
And I don't really understand why. I mean, crowdfunding is such like a useful tool. Like, did you get any hate with that as far as like...
Oh, there was like 1 or 2 trolls that were just like, why don't you just go to the bank, get a loan like everybody else? And we're like, we tried. It didn't work. Yeah. That's why we're here. Trust me, we exhausted every possible option to not have to do crowdsourcing. Yeah. And our main thing was that's what we did to open up Black Forge originally, was that we did crowdsourcing through that. And we're like, we don't want to like have to do this campaign again. It's not so much like...
Why do you think people look down on that?
I don't know why people would look down on it, but I know like our apprehension was just like, we don't want to ask people for help again. Yeah.
That's understandable.
And if we are asking for help, it's like, hey man, I heard you paint houses. You want to come help us paint? It's like, we'll pay you. Not like, hey, we need $30,000.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of people got someplace doing it differently, so therefore, like, oh, you didn't pay your dues, you're getting around the gatekeepers.
I mean, you gotta move along with technology. I mean, like, that's all based off of technology. Like, people just, I'll go on Kickstarter sometimes on lunch and just back some random ass shit, $50 and you'll get like whatever. And there's so many cool things that are like, that people are doing, and like, I think it's more me being like a like-minded person, like I want to support things like that. Like, I'm pumped. I got I didn't know if I wanted to talk about this on here, but like I did one of the pledge packages that you guys did, where my whole goal with this is eventually, like, I want to start, I created my own clothing brand for a minute, I stopped that, and I want to make my own brand, but I'm gonna brand it under this podcast. Like, the logo's dope. I like what I'm doing with this. Like, I'm proud of all this stuff. I'm getting a good reaction. People enjoy it, and people are hitting me up saying, when are we gonna get t-shirts? But I'm gonna make things that I want and like, and I don't drink, so like, people get into IPAs and shit like that, and I always say that, like, coffee and beer are so similar, and the only reason I don't drink is I don't like being drunk. So, the coffee is a perfect substitute of me, being able to try different kinds and experience different ways and everything like that. So I'm going to make my own coffee, and I want to eventually start making my own coffee roast to be able to like go with that. Yeah. So your opportunity with one of your pledge packages is going to help that.
That's awesome.
Come to fruition.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, so you'll get to work with our roaster Tyler, he's a super awesome dude. And he knows so much about coffee. And it was like one of those things where like we were trying to figure out who we're gonna work with and who's gonna roast, because Ashley and I were like, we're down to roast, but man, we don't want to fumble on this for a year and a half until we get it right. We'd rather just hire somebody who knows what they're doing. He walked in wearing like Converge hoodie, you know, and stuff like that. And we're like, this is our.
Where does he roast at?
Right now, he roasts at Allegheny.
Okay.
And he's a great roaster.
Yeah.
And Allegheny was cool enough to let him like kind of gypsy roast for us out of there until we got our roaster.
Yeah.
So he does all like everything that he's doing for us is just for us.
Yeah.
And then he
That's
does
awesome.
the Allegheny stuff separate. And
I'm excited about it for sure.
Yeah, he's a really good dude. He's really smart, man. So it's like one of those things where he won't settle for subpar. I mean, when he put together the espresso roast that we use now, the Blast Beat Espresso, I think he told me that they did 20 different blends.
Until he was happy with it.
Until he was happy with, he came up with 2 that he was happy with out of that. And like to do blends, I mean, you're talking about
time
2 to 4 to 6 different beans, all roasted at like a light or a medium or a dark, all like try to come together to create this blend for this specific flavor.
Insane.
He went through 20 of them before he like dialed it into 2. So when you're putting together your coffee roast, yeah, like you'll definitely get something great.
That's awesome, man. I'm pumped about it. I'm pumped to see how it all goes down. I drove past the place, and it looks fucking awesome. The building looks crazy. Was it an old bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it definitely looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't remember if she said that or not, but I'm excited to see when that all unfolds and how everything goes with that.
Yeah, we're really there's a parking lot, man. Like
Yeah, I know.
that's
That got to be
huge
a
for
big.
us.
That got to be huge.
And yeah, there's a cool basement down there. There's an old vault, like there's an actual vault.
That's what she said. That's sick.
For some reason they carpeted. I think it's carpeted. So we're thinking about turning the vault into the green room, you know, because it's like
that would be dope.
Pretty chill spot, and it's like randomly placed like in the middle of the basement. So there's not really much we can do with it. Really low ceilings because it was an old vault.
That's pretty cool,
So
though. That's a good idea.
Throw some couches in there and
Yeah,
let
fuck
some
it.
bands chill.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I do a last segment on the podcast. It's called Desert Island Questions. Desert Island Question. You familiar with The Office?
Yes.
They get locked out during the fire episode, and Jim plays Desert Island Questions with everyone. So I'm going to play them with you.
Okay.
I give everyone 3 options for 3 different categories to take with them on a desert island to watch, read, and listen to over and over and over again for the rest of your life. So the first category is movies.
Oh man.
Now, I could edit out any downtime. Some
That's
people
okay.
take a second.
I mean, like the first movie that comes to mind is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Because I can watch that movie over and over and over.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be too great. It's not bad. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the Narnia movies for me. Like I fucking love watching them. Those are good.
Yeah.
You got 2 more movies.
Oh, I do have 2 more. Oh,
3
I only
each.
got 1.
No, 3 each.
Man, so yeah, so it definitely would be Hitchhikers. Army of Darkness.
Oh, that's
'Cause
a good
I can
one.
watch that movie like 4 times a day.
Yeah, that's good.
It's great. Man, what would be the last one? Oh man, it'd have to be something like super funny. I'd need something like
To break it up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know what? Fear and Loathing would be fun. That would be a cool movie to have around because you can watch that in a lot of different moods.
Yeah, a lot of different moods, and you can get some different shit. I feel like as many times as you watch that, you're still gonna like get some shit from it.
Yeah, and as I slowly go crazy, I'll start to relate to Hunter S. Thompson more and more.
Yeah, he's a wild. You ever see that YouTube video of him like having a gun battle with his neighbor?
Probably.
It's fucking
yeah.
insane. He was a wild dude. Are you a reader?
Yeah.
Now, I give people 3 books to take with them, but you said you're a big movie guy, so I have a couple questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
I ask other people, are you a fan of like Goodfellas and Casino?
Like I'm not like fanatic about them, but I like them a lot. Yeah.
Now, I always ask people what they like more, Goodfellas or Casino. I don't know why I ask people that.
I like Casino because it
me
just
too.
kind of has like this like
I love the Vegas
Vegas exactly.
feel of it all.
Yeah, it has like this classic vibe, you
Yeah.
know. It's just like the whole thing is badass all the way
That's
through.
good stuff. Also, you said you're a big horror movie guy.
Yes.
Now, who's your favorite like classic like I feel like there's 2 categories. There's classic monsters, there's Dracula the Swamp Monster, Wolfman.
Universal.
Yeah. Like who's your favorite out of all them?
Out of the Universal?
Yeah.
Dracula.
Okay, yeah, I'm a big vampire guy too as well. Now, what about the slashers like Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy?
I was a big Freddy fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I loved horror films that didn't take themselves too seriously. So I loved the humor that like his character had.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever seen the Monster Squad?
Yeah.
Now that's probably my favorite of everything. But like you said, like I like the horror, but I also like the comedy relief in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like an Idle Hands and shit like that.
Right.
Comedy horror movie, like shit like that.
Well, that's why, like I said, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2 is one of my all-time favorite films too. You know, but
yeah,
that's one of those things where it's like I got to be in a special mood to like sit down and watch the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now 3 books.
Oh man.
I also have a consolation question. 3 video games. So you could choose which either you'd like.
I'm a bigger video game guy.
All right, go ahead with them.
3 video games. I'd probably have to say Super Smash TV for Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Or the arcade, whatever one they want to give me.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard and it's so much fun to play.
Yeah.
It'd take me forever to like. Probably take me the whole time until I get rescued to beat it.
My brother used to shit on me in Smash Brothers, so it gave me a sour taste.
No, Smash TV.
I don't know what that is then.
Oh, yeah. Smash Brothers is where like you played all the different characters and fought. But Smash TV was like this top-down kind of weird directional shooter.
Oh,
but
really?
it was based as like a game show, like a futuristic game show. So like you would be killing off all these guys, but collecting toasters and cars and TVs and stuff. And at the end
I've
of every
never even
level,
heard of that.
There was like these crazy bad guys, and they would take forever to beat because they would have all these different versions of themselves that they would break down into. And then, and then there was always like a game show host that would like tally up how many toasters you got and how many VCRs you got and stuff. And yeah, it's just the concept's
I'm gonna
really
have to
ridiculous.
look it up.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's really hard because it's just wave after wave after wave.
Yeah, I'll definitely look it up.
So that game for sure. Any video game, like any time period?
Anything you want.
The Last of Us. I definitely have that game.
I'm not a video game guy, but I've played very few. I've probably played 2 games in my life from beginning to end, and that's one of them. My buddy Dylan is a video game freak, and he was like, "You just got to play it. Like you're gonna love it."
It's a masterpiece.
Took me
It's so
forever to accept it, to play from him. As soon as I started, it was like crack.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was just like a movie, and I loved it. I'm a big zombie guy. The only thing I would have loved with that whole game more is if they were like more traditional zombies rather than like them big ass things that exploded at the end.
Guys,
like I that was the only thing I disliked, but that game was unreal.
I did like the concept because what was kind of creepy about like the cordyceps mushroom stuff is that some of that stuff exists today.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever see those videos of like the ants?
That like become like a zombie because of that or whatever.
They climb like the highest twig that they can,
and then jump off.
The mushroom grows out of their head.
Oh,
Things
yeah.
like that, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, some of that stuff's real creepy.
Rogan's definitely talked about that on there.
And to think, like, I mean, like, what does that take? Just like a couple hundred years of evolution before they can do that to us?
Yeah, it's fucking wild. Jeez.
Or just like some human tinkering with it until they make the wrong kind of species.
Everything is so freaky now that's just progressing. Artificial intelligence, I see videos of robots all the time.
Dude, my phone, I have a Pixel, so I got like the new Pixel Pi update.
Yeah.
And it's learning me. Like, it asks me questions. It's like, hey, you turned that notification off a couple times. Do you want us to keep showing it to you? You know, things like that. Like,
really?
Yeah, it like learns who I text the most, and it just gives me a shortcut button.
It's fucking weird whenever you're talking about like, you know, someone was talking about some sort of like barbecue sauce that they came across because like it just pops up like we were talking about it on the podcast, and then it just popped up on my ads, and you're just like, Jesus, like what the fuck else are you listening to?
Yeah, that's the weird kind of spy stuff.
Yeah,
that stuff. I think that's a little invasive and unnecessary. I don't think
unnecessary.
Doing that.
I don't need you to give me another reason to go spend a bunch of money.
9 times out of 10, it's something that I've already looked into.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll search something on Amazon, and that same product will show up on Instagram for the next week and a half, and I'm like, I know, I'm gonna buy it. Leave me alone.
I know, right? It's in my cart. I need to get paid.
Right. So I have one more video game.
Yeah, one more video game.
Oh, this is rough. It'd have to be something really hard, so it'd have to be like an old NES game for sure.
Like Paperboy.
Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest.
Oh, that's a good one.
That game was hard.
Yeah, it's a good game. I just remember watching my brother play it all the time. Definitely wild. That's good. I always loved the music. Did you watch the TV show that came out?
I remember it, yeah.
I'm talking about the one that just came out.
Oh, the Castlevania when they put the series on
Netflix.
Yeah, I tried to watch it. I didn't get it, so I was like, I don't know.
I didn't watch it at all, but like, you know, it's on the queue. What kind of shows you watch on Netflix?
I mean, like I love the stand up that goes on there a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm into that. Like when I'm just searching for something, it's usually a documentary.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like I just try to I like the Netflix original stuff.
Oh, there's so much good
I'm really
shit out.
into it.
They're really killing it.
Yeah. And then I just try to catch movies that I just wasn't willing to pay for.
Yeah,
When they
that's a
finally
good
hit
point.
Netflix, I'm like, oh, I can watch it now.
There was a law in Netflix for about 5 years, like 4 or 5 years, where it was just seemed like the same shit over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you were forced to just watch like an old 90s movie that you've never seen. But now there's just too much shit to watch, like documentaries, murder documentaries, cults, fucking. And I'm just a fiend for all that shit.
Oh, dude, me too. Recently, I've been on like a conspiracy kick.
Yeah.
So this is like my second wave of conspiracy stuff, so I'm not taking it seriously. I don't think that the stuff's real. But the
Yeah.
first wave, like when I first saw like all the 9/11 conspiracy
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and like I was first introduced to Alex Jones, and that's actually how I found out about Rogan and stuff like that. Was back then, and I was just like, oh my god, lizard people everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like this stuff's crazy. And some of those people are really intense to listen to. David Icke, I think is his name.
I don't know if I know who that is.
David Icke was the guy that talked about like the Greys and
Ah.
reptilians and like all of those master races that were coming and breeding with us and taking us over. And
Yeah.
we were all just being, cultivated to be a slave race at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave me nightmares. But now it's like I spend a lot of time on YouTube because I just cast from my phone right onto my TV.
Yeah.
Because I rarely have time to watch anything more than 10 minutes long.
That's a good point.
Or I'm just putting something on in the background while I'm on my laptop.
Yep.
And there's so many weird, creepy things that have happened from the internet, like from 4chan and like Reddit, and I love watching those kind of videos where they're like the top 10 weird things that 4chan solved. You know, like a girl went missing and they found her.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
I just seen an article on Facebook today. It was a hit and run that was like fatal, and they had like a 4-inch piece of plastic, and 4chan was like that's from like a '85 Silverado truck.
Yep.
And you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and they were able to there was one where there was a picture of a guy standing on lettuce. It was just from the shins down. And all the caption said was, "This is the Burger King you eat at." And within half a day, they figured out who the guy was, what Burger King it was, alerted the boss, and alerted they knew where the house was, like all kinds of crazy shit.
That's it. It's very weird because there's some people that know so much shit about computers and technology that I'm so inferior to it, so I would never know.
Well, I feel like that's where it's consistently updated. Is
Yeah.
like on YouTube. Like I'm a big fan of Reddit and I'm a big fan of YouTube. Is that that's where it's going to be very current because people are just uploading thousands of videos all the time.
Makes sense.
How do you feel about the found footage trend in horror films?
I more or less like it.
I love it.
You know, I really, the only thing I don't like about it is the only found footage movie that was just too much for me that I had to turn off was Cloverfield. Because,
really?
it wasn't because of, it was because it made me sick.
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
It was way too much for me, but, I loved Blair Witch. I still love it. I feel that the found footage aspect of it all really makes it, like Fourth Kind.
Yeah.
That was just terrifying to me. Aliens fuck with me.
Did you ever look into the backstory of the Fourth Kind?
No.
I just think it's really hilarious. So that's based off of quote unquote a true story, like it says that on the DVD and stuff.
Yeah.
So I started going online and I'm like, well, what true stories is it based off of? And
Yeah.
turns out a bunch of people in Alaska were just winding up missing because they were getting drunk and wandering off and freezing to death.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah, but they blamed it on aliens. People were like, they're being abducted. They're disappearing because they're being abducted. And it
Oh
was just
my
like, no,
God.
they're just finding them years later, frozen in the
Yeah,
frozen in the
just
snow.
random.
Yeah, because they just get drunk and wander off and not know where they're going.
Yeah, just in some desolate area. That's fucking
But
wild.
Have you seen the VHS series?
No.
Those are really creepy.
Yeah, my wife has watched one of them, and she mentioned it, but I just never. She was like, "I'm not watching that again."
I think they're both either on Netflix or Hulu. I'm pretty sure that they're both on Hulu, but they were on Netflix for a while. If you
Yeah.
get a chance, check them out. If you like creepy stuff,
Did you
it'll.
see reviews for the new Slender Man movie?
No, but I want to.
Oh, it looks wild.
I love like all the Slenderman stuff. I will watch people play the Slenderman game.
Yeah,
on
and,
YouTube 'cause
and be
it's
freaked
so,
out.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, it's very, very creepy. And them two girls that in real life that got arrested for stabbing their friend,
Blamed it on Slenderman.
that's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
If that's the kind of shit that you're like, Slender Man, is that real? And then you're like, these two girls literally stab the fuck out of their friend, and you're just like, Jesus, is it? Is some weird shit happening? Because who knows? You never know what the fuck is going on. You believe in ghosts?
I don't.
No?
No. So that's the thing is that so I don't believe in the the movie version of ghosts, like the idea of like a spirit being left over.
Okay.
You know, because in my personal opinion, in order to have any kind of motive, you would have to have a brain. And a brain requires a nervous system, you know, like, so like if you really break it down scientifically, so people always kind of like accredit, like, why are they turning the lights off and on? They want to get my attention and they got a story they need to tell, or they're trapped here, you know, and things like that. And it's just like, okay, well, where's their motivation coming from? You know, like, why are they trying to tell you a story? They don't have a personality. They don't have a brain. They don't have a nervous system. So that's me just kind of like breaking it down in that way. But
that's getting deep
when you
with
start
it.
thinking about like interdimensional stuff, which I don't know nearly enough about.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you start
yeah.
thinking like string theory and all of that crazy stuff, like there's that shrimp that they found has like 23 different color cones in their eyes, so they can see on like this
Other
color
things,
spectrum
that we can't see.
we'll never see.
Yeah. I think I remember Rogan talking about that too. Now that you say that,
And that's fascinating. You know, I feel like we'll probably get there eventually with technology where we can just wear glasses and see the stuff.
yeah. Well, now you could have people that are colorblind for their entire life, just put on sunglasses and can see perfectly.
Exactly.
Technology is fucking crazy. Imagine being someone like Joe Rogan, where like you have no obligations really except to talk to people about either funny shit or shit that's gonna fuck with your head.
Yeah. Did you see the stuff he's been tweeting recently?
About which?
He wants to have opposing ideas like come on and talk. So like the first one he's going to do is somebody that's pro-vegan and somebody that's pro meat eating diet, and he wants to like
be a mediator or whatever.
Yeah, and he wants to like keep it like going. Like so he wants to have like a flat earther come on and talk to somebody that's not a flat earther, you know, and things like that. Like, and I'm so excited for those. Yeah,
like I really want to hear about flat Earth. The people that believe that it's real, I want to hear why, because
so it's actually very easy to break down once they get to the root of where it comes from, and it stems from religion.
Yeah, I mean,
so the idea is that
were you ever religious?
I was raised religious. I can't say that I was religious.
Me, same. Catholic,
then Christian.
Okay. Did you go to Sunday school?
Yeah, God, yeah.
All the way to 8th grade?
No, 2nd grade.
Okay, see, I went all the way up to 8th grade till I was confirmed, and I was never super religious, like not going every week. My parents went, like my dad never went. My mom went every once in a while. She just wanted me to finish out my religious schooling and be able to make my own decision, because she respects whatever the fuck I say now. But it's I don't know where we were going with it, but it's
she just wanted to fully indoctrinate.
Yeah. Which I don't necessarily disagree with. Like I feel like that it was a good move. I feel like that if I ever had a kid, I would give them the option to learn and then let them make their own decisions.
I would monitor every second.
Exactly.
After hearing that stuff that came out recently.
No, exactly.
I am far more terrified of organized religion than I have faith in them doing good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just at this point.
I agree with that.
But, like I also have a lot of friends that they swear by the church for the community around it, you know, and like it does instill morals and stuff like that. So, I mean, like,
it's just a fucking cult.
Well, whatever works. Whatever makes you a good person. If it makes you a good person, awesome. Cool. It
exactly.
works for you.
Rogan had a perfect quote that said the only difference between a cult and religion is that the figure is dead in religion.
Right.
And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, that blows your mind, because you're just like, there's some validity in that.
Well, so where we were at was like the flat earth conversation.
Yeah.
And like, so I feel like the flat earth is the most extreme conspiracy theory. Like, that's kind of where like it all kind of ends up. You know, like you start out thinking that there's like the Illuminati.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's a secret society that like is controlling everything from the background.
Yeah.
And you wind up at flat earth. And that's just like, and then you hit aliens and everything all in between. But it's based in religion. So the idea is that a flat earth was created for us to inhabit. And this is just one phase of our existence until we go to heaven or hell. So if that's the concept, you'll never win the argument if you're trying to convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
Because they're already in a fantasy world.
I don't even have an argument. I just want to know why people are passionate about what they do. Like, Anthony Bourdain said, I fear certainty. Like, he said that in a quote talking to Mark Maron.
Right.
And, if you think about that, it's like, that's the scariest thing ever, is people that are so passionate that that's all that they want. They have blinders on, and they have they want no parts of listening to what you have to say, and no parts of ever even thinking about changing their mind. So like, I don't know shit about anything. So I like to listen to people that are passionate about what they believe in,
Right.
whether it be flat earth or not, because I might not necessarily believe what you believe, but you're going to raise some points that are going to be, educated, I would feel,
Well,
like
it's
if you're
so
that
much
passionate
fun.
about it.
Like right now, there's a lot of stuff going around. The Olsen twins were involved in like Pizzagate, and same thing with Macaulay Culkin. Like
Really?
Yeah, like
Fascinating episode on Rogan, Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, but it's just so interesting to see like how they try to. I mean, it's all confirmation bias, but like they try to connect these dots, and they're just like, this person said something about pizza once, so they must be like child predators, and you're just like, well, how'd you get there? Let's watch.
I was really hoping that they were going to touch on the Michael Jackson shit with Macaulay Culkin, but that was probably on the
I think
do
Rogan
not ask.
knows that he's trying to get people to stay in the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably like I'm sure that he screened him hard before he was allowed to interview him.
Oh, for sure. I hope he can get Roseanne on there. I want to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, I definitely do too.
Even though she's
I don't
definitely
like some of the
crazy.
stuff that she's been saying.
No, not at all. But
She's not doing a very good job at defending herself.
no, I'm not saying that she was in any right whatsoever, but I just want to hear what she has to say. I just like hearing people's point of view.
Well, I mean, like to attest to what you're saying, this idea of like this confidence and certainty is crazy to me because like at one point in time we thought that we were able to cure illness with leeches.
Yeah.
And now look at where we're at. So
Yeah.
like, to say that we're not going to be somewhere else, 100 years from now is crazy. It's insane. For you to say with certainty this is exactly how it is and this is the way it's always going to be, you are a crazy person.
Even in 10 years. 10 years ago, we would never, 20 years ago in 99, we would never even, think about FaceTime or, fucking sending money just through Venmo or some shit like that. Like that's such a, terrestrial idea to like, to even fathom that, a little flash drive that you plug in the back of your TV that just give you endless movies to watch. Like no one would ever think about that. And in 15 years, you're here and there's just so much different shit because technology is just progressing so much. You don't even need a fucking professional digital camera anymore. You can just use your fucking cell phone. It's crazy to me.
And the technology is built in to make that photo look amazing.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's like you were saying earlier with like what it takes to create and do something on your own. My girlfriend's a performer, and we built a website together in 30 minutes on Squarespace.
Yeah.
Had her email up to where that she could get booked, and she had people contacting her.
100%.
And it was just like that's all that it takes nowadays. It's like, and I probably could have done it on my phone. I just had my laptop with me.
The world is our oyster now. Like as much as it keeps progressing, like it's going to be easier for us. It's just giving us the tools are more accessible for us, and they're just a dumbed down version.
Well, I mean, at this point in time, I feel like the classic form of education has been eliminated because you can, whatever you're passionate about, you can dive into 100%.
100%.
I had a really crazy conversation with my friend who's currently a teacher, and I was like, well, how do you feel about VR? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, what about the opportunity that we have with virtual reality? Because education is just kind of like preparation for the real thing.
Yeah.
Like when are you going to be able to apply math in the real world? And like the example that I gave to her was just like, well, what if you could program virtual reality surgery? You could have surgeons practicing real surgery with VR without killing anyone.
Yeah.
And like they could become masters. And same thing with like electronics, like anything. Like you could literally virtually
anything.
learn everything without breaking
cars,
anything,
motors,
ruining
anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
And like you don't need a giant, huge school building or like subsidized lunch or any of that kind of stuff. You can just program a curriculum into a VR and be like, all right, what am I going to learn today?
That's fucking crazy. What a time to be alive.
Right.
All right. We can go on a whole nother fucking podcast with this.
It's been fun though.
It is. It has been fun. You're a very interesting guy to talk to. The last category, probably my most interested, is music. You get 3 CDs to take with you.
Whew. Man, that one's definitely rough.
Definitely difficult.
So I'm not going to say that this is my number 1, but this would be in my 3.
That's fine.
Every Time I Die is Hot Damn.
Okay.
Because that is just a record that I can put on anytime in any mood.
You going to see them in December?
Yeah, I'm going to try my hardest. Vane's opening up for them, and I really like that band. I don't know if you checked them out, but they're really
I've never listened to them, but I'm excited to see Turnstile.
Okay, yeah, I don't know them that well.
Me either, but like my buddy was like, check them out, they're fucking crazy. And I've watched their performance videos, and like they have such a like Every Time I Die obviously is like, their stage presence is everything. And this fucking Turnstile band looks crazy.
Cool.
So it should
I'm
be cool
gonna
to
check it
see.
out. It's like a 5-band bill, right?
Yeah, I think there's 4 or 5. So I mean, they always put on an awesome show.
Yeah.
They always. The only thing that sucks is you're familiar with like Moss to Flames.
Yeah.
They're playing at the Rex the same day, and my buddy Zach, who was on the podcast, plays in that band now. So it sucks because you're like, do you guys see your friend, or do you guys see one of like the bands that you really love,
Right.
and another band that you've never seen that you would like to see?
And you're going to see Vane, which I'm telling you, check them out.
I will look them up. I will.
Real interesting. I don't know. That's a toss-up. Well, hopefully your friend will come back and play because he's from around
Yeah,
here.
he's always coming back to play. That's the only reason I'm probably going to see Every Time I Die.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but sorry, Zach. So you said first CD. You said
Hot damn.
Hot Damn, yeah.
I'd have to go with something that's like I would have time to really get into. So like a Mars Volta record.
Oh, okay.
You know, like something that like
I never
could just sit
expected
and
that.
pick
Mars
apart.
Volta. Yeah.
That just goes in so many different directions.
Yeah, and you could really, however deep you want to get, you could get.
Yeah. And then I'd probably go with like one of A$AP Rock's first 2 records.
I definitely like that. The only reason I even listened to him ever was because of Buzzy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Buzzy was the one who put me on to him. Same thing with Run the Jewels, actually.
Yeah. He put me on to Run to Jewels.
Unreal.
I knew about LP from
Yeah.
A$AP Rock, but I didn't know that he was doing that project.
Yeah, I didn't really know too much about Killer Mike either, but I started listening to their shit, and it's just unreal, very powerful.
Yeah.
And then you see them on like Tiny Desk, and you're just like, man, fucking dudes are just awesome.
Right.
You just want to hang out with them.
Yeah. Did you ever see that study they did about like the biggest vocabulary in hip hop?
No.
And they broke down like who uses like over their entire library of music that they put out, like how many words each hip hop.
No, I never
artist
seen
used.
that.
I wish that my memory was better and I could tell you like who number 2 was, but you're talking like if you were trying to envision this in your mind, like listening now, you're talking like think about like a ruler.
Yeah.
And every notch was a different hip hop artist leading up.
Yeah.
And then like you got up to about 3/4 of the way, and then it just stopped. And then at the very end of the ruler was A$AP Rock.
Really?
Yeah, like he was light years ahead. Like when
Wow.
it came to like vocabulary, like just using so many different words.
That's pretty wild. I would have never thought about that.
So like I
I'm gonna
think
probably have to look that up.
one of the main reasons why is because like I've been into that dude since high school, and to this day I can go back and listen to Float and be like, oh, that's what he's trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder what he's trying to get there. Like
Yeah, now that you have different experiences in life, you can understand things from a different. Yeah, I get what
different
you're saying.
perspective. And
That's
like,
pretty wild.
Sometimes you hear a word weird, and you're like, oh no, he was actually saying this. I thought
Yeah,
that song
I
meant
do it
something
all the
totally
time.
different forever.
Same thing with movies. Like if you think you misheard something in a movie, and you're like, ah, fuck, that's really what he says.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's cool. So Every Time I Die, Mars Volta, and
A$AP Rock.
A$AP Rock. Those are good. Those are good choices. Now, 2 last questions. Last one is Death Row Meal. What would you?
Death Row Meal.
Yeah.
Man.
What would you get if you were about to get fried?
So like
You can pick literally whatever you want.
It's like the nerd in me wants to say like nacho cheese Doritos because it's formulated to activate every taste receptor in your brain.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's technically not a flavor because it's all flavors.
I mean, I haven't had them for probably years before this weekend, but like I was at a wedding this past weekend, and we just had like 95 bags of chips.
Dude, I can crush a whole bag of Doritos.
Yeah, they're addicting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So some Doritos,
Cheesecake.
cheesecake.
Yeah.
There you go.
But most of my items are going to include cheese. Like
That's fine.
Minio's pizza.
All right.
That would probably be all I could eat, but that would be my death row. Yeah.
That's a good pick though. You
Yeah.
got a snack, a main dish, and then a dessert.
Yeah.
What about your drink? Cream soda?
Tequila.
If you're gonna die, you might as well just put that fucker to your head.
Right. Right.
Just put a straw in there and just chug it.
Yep.
Try not to vomit. All right. Now, the last and most interesting question that I ask everyone is: if you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Wow. I feel like I've definitely answered this question in passing before. I gotta think.
That's fine.
Man, I've had some interesting conversations with people, but like from the perspective of like really getting to pick somebody's brain.
Yeah, anyone you want. Like my buddy said, anyone like the Egyptians figure out some shit back then? You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was a very interesting answer. I don't know if he really didn't have like a specific person, but you know, I got the idea.
Yeah.
Some other person said Randy Marsh, you know, from South Park. So like that's another good answer. So you can really have anything.
It's weird because I want to talk to somebody. Like, I would love to have a conversation with Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible. But I also want to talk with somebody like that's way smarter than me. Like there's this guy, Robert Anton Wilson. He's dead now, but that dude was really smart, and he like big on like string theory, and he wrote the Illuminati series.
Oh,
and,
okay. That would be interesting for sure.
Yeah, he's fascinating. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it'd probably be a toss up between one of those two people.
Okay. I've been thinking about it more and more recently, and I would really love to talk to Robin Williams, I feel.
That would be cool.
Yeah, like I feel like that. I don't know why I would want to talk to him. I feel like it might be a drag almost, but I feel like that type of mindset is just like, you know, like he has a quote that says everyone's born with a little bit of spark. You mustn't lose it. And like that shit right there, just like, you know, that's like the whole idea of Hook. It's like you're that little kid and like you're going and you're like, you don't want to forget who you were. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, just get stuck in that suit. And that's why like my clothes were called the Lost Boys. And like I was always in love with Peter Pan because like I never wanted to grow up.
The concept behind it, yeah. And I mean, like, and to like bring the podcast full circle.
Yeah.
That's like kind of why we started Black Forge, is because like the labor, the way that the labor system is set up and how people kind of live their lives is soul crushing.
Yeah.
It is just life ruining. You know, like you have to work 40 years before you get to enjoy your life. And even then, you might have to become a Walmart greeter to make ends meet.
Yeah, and you're fucking too old to even do anything.
Exactly. And this idea of like 8 hours to work, 8 hours for fun, 8 hours to sleep. What are you talking about? You have one life to experience.
Yep.
I want to give as little to work as possible.
Exactly.
You know, and like in for anybody that thinks otherwise, that you should like, oh, life is about hard work, you are crazy. Because when you're in your deathbed, the last thing, if you ask anybody on their deathbed, every single one of them, wish I would have loved more. Wish I would have experienced more. Wish I would have done more. None of them say, I wish I would have done more work. I wish I would have worked more jobs. You know, like
spent more hours in the office on a Friday after work to get something done, just to work on it on a fucking Monday.
Right, exactly.
You know, just fuck. It's just like you said, it's fucking soul crushing.
It is.
But you're a breath of fresh air.
Oh, thanks, man.
I appreciate you very much coming on here and taking the time out. Take any time to promote whatever you want to promote.
I mean, just Black Forge. Just watch the app. Black Forge PGH is our social media for Instagram and Twitter. Facebook is just Black Forge Coffee. And, I mean, we're on social media constantly. So anything that we have going on, we always kind of make announcements for it. Look for the new location in fall. And we will make a big deal out of it. So you'll be aware of it.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be posting a bunch of shit as well.
Thanks, man. And again, thanks for supporting the Kickstarter.
Absolutely. I'm fucking pumped about it.
And anybody that listens to it that did support the Kickstarter, thank you so much from like the bottom of our hearts. You know, I can speak for Ashley. It was incredible to see the amount of people that supported us and the amount of strangers that I met. They're like, hey man, I backed you guys. I hope that it works out. Like,
yeah, dude.
It was a lot of tears that came out during that month.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine it. It's like, it's not even that like, you know, it's easy to be able to get behind something that the type of thing you believe in. You know what I mean? It's just like-minded people. You just want to support that good shit, and you just want to keep the good vibes going.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you very much.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate everyone listening. Always long-ass podcast with me. Deal with it. Follow me on social media at I'll Call You Right Back on Instagram, at ICYRB Podcast on Twitter. I'll Call You Right Back on Facebook, YouTube, wherever the fuck, anywhere you look. Email me. I'll call you right back at Gmail. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you dislike. Tell me if you have someone you'd like to have me on, or you'd like me to have on there. Call me a piece of shit, whatever you want. But I do appreciate it. So
rate and review. That's really important for podcasts.
Rate and review. I put it all the time on my intros, but definitely rate and review. Take a time out. Go on there. Give me a 5-star review. Putting my shit. I'm putting so much heart into this, and I appreciate it. Thanks again. Call you right back.